Over 30,000 coming through the turnstiles, and there's still hope. The Cardinals, 9 games left, 2.5 out in the wild card. The Mets make their way to St. Louis. Albert Pujols is in the lineup tonight, and these fans are fired up, sensing a late season run. With Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to Cardinals Baseball. And Rick, late season, still hope. This is what you want.
And the Cardinals did the hard part. They played well on the road against Philadelphia, winning 3 out of 4. Now the job, Dan, is they have to play well against teams below 500, and they've got to win almost every game in this homestand.
Edwin Jackson will get the start tonight for St. Louis. Much more to come before our first pitch on your home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest.
The surging Cardinals have the starting pitching to thank. 3 out of 4 very good starts in Philadelphia. Garcia, Carpenter, and Loesch were outstanding. Jake Westbrook did not have a good outing, but the bullpen picked him up. Now it's Edwin Jackson's turn. Jackson's been as consistent as anybody in the Cardinal rotation. He beat the Pirates his last outing, and he's going for win number 13. More from Busch Stadium after this.
The Cardinals started their 7-game Pennsylvania road trip in Pittsburgh, and it didn't take long for Albert to do what he does best at PNC Park.
Here's the 0-1 to Pujols. Albert hits it out to deep right center. McCutchen is back. He'll look up, and it's gone.
Albert collected 4 RBIs in the series, sneaking closer to the 100 mark. Nick Punto didn't start any of the games in Pittsburgh, but that didn't stop him from contributing.
There he goes. Good jump. It's hit in the air. Left center. That ball will get down. Green on his way to third. He's going to score, and Nick Punto delivers.
Yadier Molina also batted well against the Bucs.
Drives it into right. That's trouble. Ludwig is back, and it's off the wall. Gets away from him. 1 run will score. They're going to wave in another. Yadier Molina comes through. 2-run score on an RBI double by the Cardinal catcher.
Kyle Loesch, Chris Carpenter, and Edwin Jackson didn't exactly dominate, but all 3 kept the games close for current closer Jason Mott, who was lights out.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. Slowly hit to the right side. This should do it. Cardinals take 2 of 3, and they win it. They hold on 3-2 in the save for Jason Mott.
The Cards took the series 2-1, stayed 4.5 games behind Atlanta for the wild card, and headed 300 miles east to take on the Phillies.
Part 2 of the Redbirds' Pennsylvania road trip took them to Philadelphia, where the Phillies had the best home record in baseball. But St. Louis was able to take down Vance Worley, Cole Hamels, and Roy Halladay, with better performances from starters Jaime Garcia, Chris Carpenter, and Kyle Loesch. The Cardinals were able to take 3 of 4 against Philly, thanks to some big home runs. Albert collected a 4-hit night in the series opener, and then took Cole Hamels deep in his first at-bat on Sunday. Albert, though, hit only half as many home runs as Alan Craig did that day. And maybe the most surprising home run of all, Lance Berkman's first-inning home run off the defending Cy Young champion, Roy Halladay. Hit high and deep to right. Pence can't see it, and no wonder he can't. This ball is gone. Way over the head of the right fielder, Pence. Home run number 31 for Lance Berkman, and it's 2-0 Cardinals. Despite some shaky showings from the bullpen, Octavio Dotel shut the door last night, bringing the Cards home with a 5-2 road trip and just a 2.5-game deficit in the wild card.
Late last night, it was fun to be a Cardinal fan. Kyle Loesch set the stage, 7 1/3, and picking up his 14th win. Tony La Russa, how about that victory?
Well, I mean, you're only going to have so many chances. That's what you try to do is huh? No.
That group was very excited in there.
Turn on the Rams game.
Oh, you know he loves seeing that baseball finish. And the Cardinals, because of that loss by Atlanta, 2.5 out, 9 to go. Pennant fever here in St. Louis. Baseball next. Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By Chevy. See your Mid-America Chevy dealers. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 in quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake, life needs flavor. Let's check in with the Atlanta Braves down in Florida and what's happened so far. This is Alex Gonzalez with a solo home run to put the Braves on top early on. Then the former Astro Michael Bourne, he would help the cause as well, slapping one to the other side, an RBI double. And Martin Prado, we know what kind of hitter he can be, and he strikes early for the Atlanta Braves as well. Infield drawn in and a base hit into center field. So as we speak right now, it is a 3-run lead for the Atlanta Braves. Busch Stadium is the scene, and a gorgeous night for baseball, along with Rick Horton and Jim Hayes. I'm Dan McLaughlin. And our first pitch by Jackson is a strike on the outside corner to switch hitter. Such an exciting player. When healthy, Jose Reyes.
Yeah, and he's not fully healthy yet, Dan, but the batting average, .331. He's battling Ryan Braun for the batting title in the National League. And he's a very dangerous hitter. Obviously has good speed. Power numbers down a bit, 5 home runs, but he gets on base and he can run.
Braun at .333, and as you mentioned, Reyes at .331. Slowly hit up the line, and a foul ball touched by Jackson. Let's take a look at Mr. Collins, his lineup. Jose Reyes, Angel Pagan, and David Wright. Lucas Duda, Willie Harris, Nick Evans. You really like this catcher. And Tejada and Pelfrey. By the way, here's the scouting report for Edwin Jackson.
Josh Tolley, actually a local player as well. Jackson been consistent since he's come over to St. Louis. He's never faced the Mets. Plus fastball and a plus slider. And if he can get it together, he can go through a lineup.
Off the glove of Furcal and a leadoff base hit. Nearly timed perfectly by Furcal. Leadoff base hit. Berkman, Jay, and Craig in the outfield. Along the infield for St. Louis, Freeze, Furcal, Schumacher, and Pujols. Behind the plate tonight, Yadier Molina. That's presented by Dobbs.
Not very well hit. Good effort by Furcal. He's been a good addition to this club, Dan, defensively. Furcal has very good range. He's dropped a few of late, but you still like him in the middle of the infield.
And you see that Reyes likes to run. You wonder, with his hamstring issues and going for a batting title, how aggressive he may be in the final week and a half on the base paths. But maybe a little bit more concerned with his batting average and trying to win that title.
He's also in a large contract year as well. Not that that would have anything to do with how he might run the bases, Dan.
Marlins, by the way, had the bases loaded, 1 out, did not score. That's a pitch that was up, cut off by Berkman, and it's runners at first and third. Pagan with the single, and it brings in David Wright. So here come the Mets right out of the box. Bing, bing, 2 singles.
This one well hit on the line. And any doubt about the health of Reyes, no question in his mind he can get from second to third on Lance Berkman.
David Wright batting .283, 14 home runs. He's driven in 57 this year. You think about their new ballpark, Citi Field, and how it has affected power hitters because it is so big, it's so spacious. The guy that really comes to mind is at the plate, and that's David Wright.
It also makes you wonder how the Mets will do when they have potential free agent players they want to sign in the middle of their lineup. They're going to need some other power bat. They don't have Beltran anymore. Somebody in the middle of that lineup. I don't think Jason Bay is their long-term answer. But do you really want to play in New York if you're a power hitter? Jason Bay, by the way, has had the flu the last 24 hours, and that's why he's not in the lineup. He's really turned his season around. When we saw him last, he was terrible. But he has made some adjustments, and he's not all the way back, but much better.
Here's an 0-1 pitch to Wright instead of check on the runner at first. That's Pagan. Good speed out there. Pagan at first. And Reyes over at third. David Wright, 44 games against the Redbirds and a .340 average in his career. Pagan is leaning towards second, not running. The pitch is hit out of play, nothing in 2. Saw Kyle Loesch last night against the Phillies. What a job he did. 7 1/3. His longest outing since June 22nd. That was also against the Phillies. And he leads the staff in wins, which may surprise you now with 14.
And the best thing about that outing for Loesch, as far as I'm concerned, is he was not getting the low pitch. He was not getting a big strike zone, but still found a way to get people out and a pretty good lineup to boot.
Strikeout of David Wright. This is why the Cardinals love Jackson. The fact is, he's got the kind of stuff that with runners at first and third, nobody out, he can get out of a jam with his repertoire that he brings.
Short slider there, must have fooled David Wright, looking for the fastball and didn't adjust very well. David Wright, one of the best third basemen in this game, and when he's right, he's very, very good, but he does have some holes in his strike zone, and the Cardinals found one.
Back-to-back lefties in the middle of this lineup. Duda here, and then Harris on deck. Home plate umpire tonight, Andy Fletcher. Tim Welke, the crew chief, is at first. Jim Reynolds at second. Mike DeMuro down at third. Outfield is straight away. A little flare and a fair ball, base hit down into the corner. Pagan racing to third. He'll be held up there. It's a double for Duda as he fought it off, and it's 1-0 Mets. First bank, first take. We're banking on your future. Don't take the Mets lightly, despite the fact that they've had a down year. On the road, not too shabby, 42-36. Just a shade behind St. Louis.
And partly because they've hit well on the road. They're second in the National League in batting average, and we've talked about how the Cardinals have been first for so long at .271, but the Mets are number 2.
Runners at second and third, one down. Willie Harris, the hitter. Focus, and we should, on Atlanta, but right behind the Cardinals in the wild card, playing great baseball. They've won 8 straight. That's San Francisco. What a matchup tonight. They've got Los Angeles. It's Lincecum against Kershaw.
Great matchup. 2 of the game's best. The Giants are starting to make that move, mostly because of that starting rotation.
0-2. All in all, Edwin Jackson has been very good for the Cardinals since his acquisition, with the exception of one bad start, and that was when he really took one for the team in Milwaukee.
That one was hard to watch, wasn't it?
It was. Tony said he needed him to get some innings, and he did. For Kyle, charging at short, and time is called. We haven't seen him do that in this at bat.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a hitter call timeout after one of the infielder charges too, but certainly they are allowed to do that.
Kyle is in on the grass. Swing and a miss. It's a strikeout of Harris. 2 down. Both outs recorded with a strikeout by Jackson, and it brings in Evans. Rick, you were in Philly last night. How about that clubhouse, the eruption after seeing the walk-off winner defeating the Atlanta Braves?
That was fun. It was just amazing. Players will talk about, you know, they're not really scoreboard watching, or they say they do, but they're not really worried about it, but they know, and they understand the importance of what's going on with the Atlanta Braves every single day. And the deal is you got to take care of your business first.
A liner that's caught by Alan Craig. Could have been much worse. The Mets pick up a run. Cardinals coming up in their half of the first. Back at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, 71 degrees right now here in the Gateway City. Let's take a look at the Cardinals lineup for Kyle, Craig, and Pujols in the first. Then Berkman, Freese, and Jay, Molina, Schumacher, and Jackson.
Scouting report on Mike Pelfrey, 7-12. He has a mid-90s fastball. Below average off-speed pitch. He has a little breaking pitch, a little split, but nothing very exciting, and he doesn't finish hitters very well. He has the good fastball, but can't finish them off, so he throws a lot of pitches, doesn't really have an out pitch. But you look at the fastball and you think this pitcher perhaps should be a little bit better.
First 3-hit game last night for Kyle as a Cardinal. 11th multi-hit game as a Redbird. And since August 24th, he's hitting above 300. And in that time, the Cardinals have gone 17-7. He means so much to this defense. But then you really overlook what he means as a table setter for the big hitters in this lineup.
First two guys have to get on base. Sometimes it's for Call and Jay. Tonight it's for Call and Alan Craig. But the offense really can't get moving if they're not doing their job.
Chopper to second, and for Kyle is retired. The high throw to first, but put away for the first out. Defense for the Mets tonight: Harris, Pagan, and Duda. Wright, Reyes, Tejada, and Evans along the infield. Tolle is behind the plate. Mike Pelfrey on the mound. The 27-year-old out of Ohio. First round, 9th overall pick back in 05. Matt Holliday still out. May not see him the rest of the way.
Boy, that'd be a shame. Jim Hayes talked in the pregame about how the Cardinals are saying probably not for this series and then not really committing after that. There have been some promising signs the last couple of days, but it's one of those things you don't really know till you get out there and test it. And so it's kind of a catch-22. You don't want to test it because you don't want to hurt it more. So a lot of injuries are like that for players. He's not obviously in pain just standing there, but to try to do that violent swing that we see from Matt Holliday, we may not see him again.
The 2-0 is hit to short. Reyes plays that flare, slings it over to first, and there's 2 away. Let's take a look at our keys to the game, which is presented by Toyota. Pelfrey on the road, 4-8, high ERA, 94 innings, 114 hits he's allowed. Let's see if that continues tonight.
Yeah, the hit's a big deal there. That stands out. At home, actually less than a hit per innings pitched, but on the road, not so good. In fact, the Mets starters, even though they win on the road, the Mets starters don't fare very well on the road. So that tells me it's offense that gets those wins for them.
Here's Pujols, who's hitting .299. If you're thinking about batting average, do you round up? In the game of baseball, you do not. You're either at .299 or you're at 300. There is no in between.
I just heard that for the first time, and I'm not convinced that's right. I mean, you saying it, I'm not doubting you, but that's coming from some Cardinal writers, and I have never heard that before. John Jay didn't hit 300 last year then.
Yeah, I didn't hear them say that. I've heard folks with Major League Baseball describe that, but I was taken back by it too, and so much of the focus, a national perspective in many ways, Rick, as you well know, is watching Pujols continue to make history. So it's talked about a lot. 30-plus home runs, 100-plus RBIs, and a 300 or better average.
You look at John Jay's numbers last year, and he is listed officially as having hit 300, though he did not hit 300. His average was 299 something. And so I'm not sure whether that's a new rule or whether somebody just decided that to be true.
Here's a 2-2. Two balls and 2 strikes. Pujols 0 for 5, 3 strikeouts against Mike Pelfrey. And that's a base hit. Two-out hit for Pujols, and it brings in the switch hitting Lance Berkman. If you're wondering, when you come down to the ballpark, the arch is back in the grass here at Busch Stadium. Nice look. Foxmo brought to you by Plaza Tire Service And a single for Pujols.
The hard ground ball up the middle. We've seen so many balls hit through the holes by Albert over the years because he hits the ball so hard. So the key for him, Dan, just hit 310 so nobody's worried about the math.
Right. They've got the shift on here for Berkman, you can clearly see. Outfield is straight away. Wonder how tempted Lance gets. He's a cerebral type player. You know, thinking about dropping down a bunt or just guiding, and he's got great control with the bat. Would he just guide it down that left field line?
We've seen him bunt once that I can recall, and I think in this situation, especially the way he's swinging the bat, I want him to let it go. But
well,
certain situations, I would think that he's, yes, going to contemplate it. Cardinals need base runners. In fact, the one time that I recall he did it, Cardinals were trailing. They just needed base runners. So it depends on the situation. 2 outs. I want him trying to hit one into the Cardinal bullpen.
Bottom of the 4th, Atlanta leading their ball game 3-0 over the Marlins. And with this shift, you've got the second baseman, Tejada, good 5-10 feet on the outfield grass and right. Reyes on the outfield grass behind second base.
Be interested to watch the outfield play of Pagan in this series. I'm told that even though he was playing like a Gold Glover last year, he's playing like the worst center fielder in baseball this year. So he's really struggled with the glove, and numerous errors, numerous misplays, not judging the ball well, and all of a sudden maybe he's had a little bit of a crisis of confidence about being an outfielder.
Great numbers for Berkman, 5 for 10, pair of home runs against this right-hander. The 2-2 pitch on its way. Berkman pops it up. Long way to go for David Wright. It's up to the catcher, and he makes the play. Tolley with the catch. Illinois product. And with that shift on, very tough for David Wright to get there, so it was all Josh Tolley. Oh, just came up with it. Cardinals strand a runner. 6 is a serious number again. When the Cardinals score 6, get 25-cent drinks the next day, all day at On the Run at Mobile. That's any 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for just $0.25, and we're serious at On the Run.
Nice to be at home, Dan, after the Cardinals played so well on that road trip, winning 5 out of 7 games. Nice to be at home in front of Cardinal faithful, many of whom have not given up on this season.
Nor should they.
Some of whom have jumped on the bandwagon, but that's okay.
Nice play, Alan Craig, off the bat of Tolley. He was playing in and left, and takes a base hit away. Happy 83rd birthday to Ramona Beckman of Sullivan, Missouri, from her daughter Sherry, who's an usher here at the ballpark. Let's see if Jackson can settle in here in the second inning after a shaky first, which could have been a lot worse.
1-0 feels like a victory. And especially if he settles down. And we've seen Jackson do that in a number of his games. Dan, he might give up a run here or there, but he can kind of settle into a groove. He has the arsenal to be able to do that kind of once he gets going, and certainly it's what teams like in Edwin Jackson, why he got to the big leagues so young, why teams keep trading for him, because they see that top flight ability.
2-0 pitch to Tejada. Fly ball into right field. Backing up a bit, Berkman. We have some very sad news to pass along, and that's the passing of one of our dear friends who works with us day in and day out. Wonderful guy, Don Lucy. His wife Juanita passed away. Don Lucy has been with us in Cardinal baseball for decades, and Don, if you're watching tonight, our thoughts and prayers are with you and with Juanita. Very sorry to hear about her loss, but Don Lucy, if you know him, send him a call or a text.
You bet.
He's a wonderful man, and very, very sad news. In the hole for Cowell, shows off the arm. Low throw, but Pujols picks it. 1-2-3 inning for Edwin Jackson. Cardinals baseball is brought to you by BMW. Come out to the new BMW Drive for Team USA event and get behind the wheel of a BMW to show your support. For the melty, crunchy, spicy, and grilled tastes you want at night. Experience late night at Taco Bell. Hours vary by location. And everybody on HP. One nothing Mets. Bottom of the second here in St. Louis. Freeze, Jay, and Molina. Everybody now.
I like that.
I think Al was doing the game with me. Matter of fact, I'm positive he was. Last homestand, and you may remember this, Rick, because you were on the post game, and I'm sure you're watching because you never miss a minute.
Not a minute.
Reyes gets the chopper off the bat of Freeze, but you remember the kid that was asleep?
Yes.
That slept through the entire game?
I do remember that.
It was set up with our executive producer today, Kevin Landy. They said, I've got this family. He said, was there a kid that was asleep? I said, yeah, he slept the entire game. And they said the family wanted to prove to me that he doesn't just sleep, that he's. And it was his uncle that caught the home run ball. So they were up in the booth earlier tonight and had a chance to meet him. And trust me, he was quite awake at that point.
But he missed a good game.
He missed a heck of a game. And a home run.
I'll have to take his uncle's word for it.
Swing and a miss by Jay. Pelfrey took something off it. Pitch before the last one we saw was at 95. Here's the 0-2. 94 there. Ground ball to the right side. Pelfrey is there. 2 outs.
What they said about Pelfrey when he got to the big leagues, he was more of a 92 to 93 mile an hour sinker ball pitcher. And he actually at the big league level kind of got this sense that maybe he needs to throw a little bit harder. So now he's throwing harder, but it's straighter. And so usually it goes the other way around. You throw hard and then you learn how to sink it.
Duck. Two outs in. Here's Yadier Molina. Average at 295. 2 balls, no strikes. They're in the bottom of the 5th now, and Atlanta leads 3-0. I think it's safe to say this has been the best offensive year put together by the Cardinal catcher.
I would agree. Power numbers are better. Career high in doubles and home runs. Always been a clutch hitter. He just seems fresher too going into the end of the season.
Two and two. Laird was in the lineup last night and has given the Cardinals a little cushion this year behind the plate as far as giving Yachty some days off.
Tony thought it was the perfect day to give Laird a start. Number one, it was against Halladay, and I think he thought maybe that game would be tough to win, even though Loesch outpitched Halladay. But late flight into St. Louis, then get right back at it today. Give Yachty that one day off. He hadn't been out since the 4th of September, so let him play the rest of the games here on out.
Full count on Molina. 2 down, nobody on. Schumacher on deck. Molina with a flare into right field, and that gets down. It's a base hit. Molina will stop at first base as Pecan fires a strike back into the infield. And it's a base hit for Yachty and extends the inning to Schumacher. Great effort out there in right field by Duda.
He's really more of a first baseman than he is a right fielder. But I did like the effort there. He could have kind of waited back and just kind of not given it a shot, but dives for it. Told you his legs were fresher.
2-out base hit. Here's Schumacher.
Jumping for joy.
Molina with a huge secondary lead. And I think if he would have taken off, you and I could have stolen that base. I mean, he was way off the bag at first base, and it looked like Pelfrey wasn't even paying attention to him. And now David Wright calls Pelfrey over just a second ago and says, hey, pay attention to Molina. Two and 0. Pitcher Edwin Jackson on deck. Skip at 287, pair of home runs. He's driven in 33.
Cardinals offense has a pretty good rotation going on right now. Schumacher getting most of the starts, but Punto getting some, Descalzo getting some. I think there's a comfort level, at least from the point of view of a Cardinal fan, to say, you know, there's a lot of guys swinging the bat pretty well. So I don't mind when Punto plays. I don't mind when Descalzo plays. Not like they're trying to find somebody to be productive. It's just which one do you choose from tonight.
Check on Molina. 2-2. When healthy, Nick Punto is produced, but the big key is staying healthy with him. There's a broken bat. And we head to the third. And you know what that means. It's time for Jim Hayes when we come back. Would you like to meet Wainwright, McClellan, Berkman, Descalso at Dick's Sporting Goods at West County Mall on September 24th? Well, you can. Cardinals.com/DSG. Cardinals.com/DSG to purchase your tickets and help Cardinals care. And Dick's Sporting Goods provide baseball and softball gloves for kids in our community. That's Cardinals.com/DSG. That's September 24th, West County Mall. Jim Hayes is with us. Back to the top of the lineup, and Reyes showing bunt, takes a ball low. Reyes with a single and a run scored in the first inning. That is updated. Braun at 334. Reyes 333. Now Reyes is a free agent to be, but Jim Hayes, Cardinals have a lot of decisions on their own free agents, and you spoke to John Mozeliak in particular about Lance Berkman and Rafael Furcal.
Well, Dan, as you well know, the Cardinals have expressed interest in bringing Berkman back as well as Furcal. So I asked John Mozeliak if there was any movement in terms of the discussions, and he said very slow right now in terms of lining something up. And he said it's not because they're at any sort of impasse. It's just right now their focus is on other things, and they remain fairly optimistic that they can get something done with one, maybe both. But right now it's tentatively on the back burn.
You know, Berkman in today's Post-Dispatch here in town, very blunt in his assessment of any contract negotiation.
Must
It's
be the
about
money.
money.
Must be the money.
It's all about money. That's what it is.
I love his directness. He's very honest. Tells you what he's thinking. Very likable. Low-key guy in the clubhouse.
He's very realistic, as we see the walk, about everything. Cardinals could sweep Milwaukee. He'll say, well, it's nice, but it's early. It doesn't mean anything. And the Cardinals could look like they're down for the count, and he says, well, there's a lot of baseball to play. He's just an honest guy.
Here's Angel Pagan, the first walk issued by tonight's starter, Edwin Jackson.
By the way, Berkman in right tonight, Ricky. We had that discussion.
We did.
Tony La Russa says he left it up to Lance with Matt Holliday not available where he wants to play, left or right. When we're in Philadelphia, Lance played left, he said, because it's closer to the dugout. Cardinal dugout on the right side, Berkman in right, closer to the dugout. It adds a bit of credibility to that premise.
Well, I think we had all the credibility we needed because he said to us, I'm telling you, and he was very clear, I'm telling you the truth.
Jackson fires, and wide into the seats it goes. An error on Edwin Jackson. Runners at second and third, and nobody out.
Nice bunt. He tries to hurry. And the ball just gets away over the head of Albert. No chance to even go for it.
Base hit, E1 on the play. By the way, Jackson, since that throw, has been shaking his hand. Keep an eye on that. Make sure he's all right.
I noticed that too, Dan. After he threw the ball, he kind of moved his fingers around a little bit, like he might have maybe strained something with that sidearm throw, but it didn't seem like he had any problem with that first pitch to David Wright.
Two-0 pitch to David Wright. Ground ball to short for Kyle. Thought about hitting that runner at second. He may have had Reyes at the plate. Run scores to make it 2-0. Cardinals in a jam here. How about the Florida Marlins, the Atlanta Braves? Let's take a look. First and second, 2 outs, and the Braves get out of that jam.
I think Furcal may have had a chance not only at Reyes at the plate, but also Angel Pagan, who came off the base at second. So a little indecision there. Choice 1 to go home. Choice 2 to maybe try to tag Pagan. Here's the ground ball. Charges it like he's going to go home. He knows Reyes runs well, so it's going to be bang, bang at the plate. But he also has a chance to get Pagan, who actually stops, and probably a little toss to Schumacher would have gotten that lead runner.
And that ball scoots away from Molina. Pagan advances to third. Right now, a little sloppy early on in this ball game.
We saw a little sloppiness yesterday in the middle innings, but Kyle Oates was able to pitch around it.
He was outstanding at doing that. That's not easy to do when the defense starts to fall apart behind you. We've seen kind of Loesch get rattled before from time to time in his career, but we certainly didn't see that out of him yesterday. And we also talked about how the strike zone was very small for him, and he just adjusted.
2 balls, no strikes on Lucas Duda. Doubled back in the first inning. Three 3-0 with 1 out. And that's a walk. Inning started with a walk, the second of the night. Rookie of the Year candidate Freddie Freeman for the Atlanta Braves on a 2-2. Very spacious center fielder. Bonifacio couldn't make that play, and it's all Atlanta tonight so far. Not good news. Got 9 games left for the Cardinals, 2.5 games back. Runners at first and third, and here is Willie Harris. Jackson needs a double play.
Trying to think of the appropriate number, Jim, and Dan both, of how many games the Cardinals need to win in the next 9 to be realistically in this. You'd almost have to say 7 out of 9 at least. You guys agree, or is it a different number?
2 losses, that's it.
Yeah.
And you're also hoping that Atlanta, after losing in walk-off fashion and not playing well, sputtering, continues to be on tilt a little bit.
Right.
The margin for error is gone.
Two and one.
We said a couple of weeks ago it's like they were at the Alamo and there wasn't much time left, and I guess they got some reinforcements. Cardinals were down to that last kind of straw, and they played so well in the last 10 days.
2-2.
And what was Lance Berkman's line? It is now within the realm of possibility after a sweep here at home.
And the follow-up was they were deeper into the realm of possibility. But he was very clear. He said, even if you do cut that lead down, then you find out about your team. Because all of a sudden, there is something to lose, and players do get a little tight. But the Cardinals have responded well up to this point.
Slowly hit. Out at second. Save at first, and it's 3-0 Mets. What's left for the wild card contenders? You have to throw San Francisco in that group now, just a little bit back of St. Louis. Mets, Cubs at Houston. The Braves at Florida. You'll see Steven Strasburg over the weekend, and Charlie Manuel telling you guys that he will play it out, those 3 games that he has with Atlanta.
Going to play the A squad, and that's good. The Giants have a chance to play Arizona 3 games. That's good for them. But I think the tougher schedule is the Atlanta Braves schedule.
St. Louis 2.5 out. San Francisco 3.5. And again, the great matchup tonight. Lincecum and Kershaw. Kershaw could win the Cy Young Award this season. Lincecum has already won it twice.
Still a different feel in this game, guys. You're thinking about the Cardinals down 3-0 to the Mets. If they'd have been down 3-0 in the 3rd inning to the Philadelphia Phillies, it would have seemed like ball game over. But the Mets do not have a very good bullpen. Plenty of game left tonight.
Line drive into right center. Off the bat of Nick Evans. And it's runners at the corners.
One of the key things for the Cardinals on this run that they put together has been all the elements coming together, including starting pitching, which has been outstanding, but obviously a rough one for Jackson tonight so far.
Runners at first and third. Josh Tolley with 2 outs.
And not to make excuses for Edwin Jackson, he does have 5 hits on the board and a couple of walks that have hurt him, but of the 5 hits, only 2 of them were hit hard. There was a blue pit by Reyes, a blue pit down the line by Lucas Duda in the first inning, and a bunt single for Pagan here in the third.
And a base hit into right. 4-0 Mets.
No bloop there.
This situation down to 9 games, Rick, you can't sit around and wait. If he's not sharp, you got to go to your bullpen. Here comes Derek Lilliquist to talk with Edwin Jackson.
It's interesting, you think about the Cardinals bullpen. There are plenty of bodies out there, but there are not a lot of bodies they're using right now. Eduardo Sanchez is yet to see action. Tony said earlier this week he'd be okay with Sanchez not even getting in a game the rest of the way. He'd look for the right opportunity to use him. Cardinals really don't want to throw Michael Clado into a huge assignment as a rookie, as a young pitcher. Same with Brandon Dixon. So that's 3 guys that you're hesitant to use. Mitchell Boggs has been inconsistent. So that's 4 guys that are really not going to pitch in a close game. And that makes the bullpen a little bit thinner than you might think.
Tony also said he would like to avoid using Salas and Zipchinski tonight, but he said there's a chance to win the game. We will use anyone that we have available.
Here's Ruben Tejada with runners at first and second. Pitch number 25 of the inning upcoming. You wonder if he'll go back to that sinker and try to just pound it. That's been a very good pitch for Jackson since he's come over to St. Louis. Swing and a miss, 1 ball, 1 strike. And a grounder that's hit to short for Kyle across the diamond. Mets already with 6 base hits, and they lead it 4-0. You can follow every Cardinals game through Game Connect on FoxSportsMidwest.com. As you watch the game on television, you can join the conversation about the game on Twitter, track trends, and stats. Game Connect, find it at FoxSportsMidwest.com. Cardinals trailing by 4 runs. Teams making up 2.5+ games with 9 remaining all time. Cardinals on that list. Everybody talks about 64. Most recently, the Rockies with that remarkable run that they had. 4.5 with 9 to play, and took that to the World Series.
Lance Berkman would have been on that Astros team in 2004 that did that.
Nearly did it in 06 to get by the Cardinals. Edwin Jackson here then for Kyle and Craig, and talk about Alan Craig. Jim comes up with the best insight in the business. There's a broken bat that right will cut off, and save with Jackson hustling down the line.
I dug this out for you because I figured this was right up your alley. Alan Craig has a 5-year-old tortoise. As we take another look at that play, doesn't have a name for it, so he just called him Torty. Anyway, his teammates found out about this tortoise, and one day this year, Alan Craig was coming up in a key situation. They started yelling, "Do it for Torty," and he came through. And since then, when the team is, according to his teammates, whenever they yell, "Do it for Torty," he does something great, inspired by the 5-year-old tortoise. That's for you, Dan.
And where does he keep this tortoise? Do you happen to know that?
Yeah, his apartment.
Travels with him?
Nope. His girlfriend watches it.
Oh, he
and
has
if
he has a tortoise sitter?
And then there's someone else that watches it when he's not there. The point is, there's actually someone yelling, "Do it for Torty."
One ball, one strike on Furcal. You may have hit an all-time low on that one. You come up with great stuff, but this one,
I figured this was in your wheelhouse.
I don't know anybody that has a 5-year-old tortoise, and now I do. Thanks, Jim.
here's a 2-1 pitch to Furcal. Slapped the other way. That's a base hit down into the corner. Jackson can run on his way to third. They're going to wave him in. Misplayed out and left. The Cardinals get on the board, and it's 4-1. Misplayed and left. You'll see it right here. Just died out there underneath that padding of the wall, and Jackson scoring from first. Safe at home, safe and secure, New York Life.
This is a game you should not lose heart on early because of that deficit. 4-0. The Cardinals have had a lot of life. They've been very good offensively. They've hit some home runs. Albert's swinging the bat well, so is Berkman, so is Alan Craig, so no need to lose heart.
Alan Craig has a tortoise that he wants to do something big for.
Runner at second is Furcal. A single on the infield by Jackson, a double by Furcal, and now it's Alan Craig. Pujols on deck. Two balls and no strikes, by the way, for season ticket holders. Your postseason ticket payment is due right now, so the Cardinals staff will be on hand during tonight's game for phone payments. 345-9500. Pay online at cardinals.com/mytickets. That will end tonight, so operators standing by right now. The 2-0 to Alan Craig. 3-0.
Albert closing in on 100 RBIs.
Pelfrey has really slowed it down here in this bottom of the third. Strike to Craig.
Commented to Ron Darling that Edwin Jackson works slowly. He's not seen him pitch before. And he said, wait till you see our guy with guys in scoring position. So that is his mode. Gets in trouble, he just really tries to take the air out of the ball.
A 3-1. Craig fights it off, base hit into right. They will hold up for Cal, and the tying run comes to the plate, the form of Albert Pujols.
Fighting it off, perfect description. Gets in on the hands of Craig, and he just powers it the other way, and you've got to be strong to get hits like that. He also has a swing that is conducive to being able to go the other way. Keep that line moving.
Pujols with a base hit, first time up.
Tony La Russa has said time after time, Alan Craig deserves at bats. Alan Craig needs to get at bats. So while you don't want to see Holiday down with injury, Craig has gotten his chance and he's delivered.
Before he had the injured leg, they're trying every which way to get him in that lineup. And then even after that, when he came back, remember, he played second base. He played even center field, trying to get that bat in the lineup. Huge at bat. You get the feeling right here in this ball game. Down 4-1, nobody out, and Pujols with runners at first and third.
The drama is not always in the ninth.
Time is called. Pujols is hitting above 400 in the month of September. 4 home runs. He's driven in 16 this month. The first pitch to him. Ball 1. Straight away and deep for Albert. A 2-0 on the outside corner. A 2-1 pitch. 2-2. The 2-2. Inside. 3-2 on Pujols. Berkman on deck.
Albert has hit into a lot of double plays. That's no secret. Hard to strike out. Craig, decent speed, surprising speed at first. I would say he's running.
A 3-2. There he goes. Grounded high to David Wright. Long throw. Nice pick at first as a run scores. That's for Cow. And it's 4-2. Nearly got over the head of David Wright.
When you think David Wright, you normally think offense, but he has a pretty good glove as well. Goes high to get that. You have to keep that throw down. If it sails at all, it's got no chance to get the runner. Keep it down. If you can't reach first base, let it get there on one hop and handled by Evans.
Berkman popped out to Tolley, the catcher. That ended the first inning. He's 0 for 1. Shift is on here for Lance with a runner at second base. Off-speed pitch. Right, foul territory, and he makes the catch. Krispy Kreme dozen deal. The Cardinals get 9 hits tonight. They're at 5. You're invited into Krispy Kreme tomorrow. Receive a dozen of their original glazed donuts for only $2.99. Here's David Freese, runner at second base. Grounded out to short his first time up.
Like to see Freese get something going. Tony La Russa on the road trip saying that he felt Freese was pressing a little bit. Actually wanted to give him an extra day off.
And he's so critical to this club too, especially with Holiday being out. The swing just has not been right.
Goes to right. That'll pay off. Couple of hops to the wall. Craig scores. Freese in safely at second. RBI double, and it's 4-3.
Well, you look at the Cardinals team last year and you realize that not having a healthy and productive David Freese really hurt the ball club when he was out. You need him to be productive, and he is here. He takes his pitch the other way, like Alan Craig. Very good at hitting the ball the other way hard. Hits it on the line for a double. Another 2-out hit for the Cardinals. How about one more?
John Jay. Off-speed pitch, check swing, did not go.
Jim, you've been in the clubhouse a lot with these guys. I'm not sure I've seen this team any looser than they've been in the last week or two. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think they all adopted the attitude of nothing to lose. We're an outside shot. We have a chance. Let's see what we can do.
1 ball, 1 strike.
But even when things were going south, you didn't sense that they were gloomy or
right.
They have been kind of even keel. And I would say they're always loose. Winning, losing.
Hard to play this game tight.
Broken bat hit to second. Big inning though for the Cardinals. They cut into the lead. Freese, the 2-out RBI double, and it's 4-3. Something that's really neat. September 30th it starts the Fox Sports Prep Zone, and it's available at foxsportsmidwest.com. 4 high school games will be shown on online, and that begins September 30th on foxsportsmidwest.com. That's it out of play. For instance, Kirkwood at Parkway Central, O'Fallon at East St. Louis, Hillcrest at Waynesville, that's the #1 recruit, is out of there. It's Staley at Grandview, that's in Kansas City. And we will have the championship games for you.
And a weekly show to go along with it, talking about high school football. And certainly it's that time of the year. Baseball season's not over. We love September baseball, but high school football always very, very popular in the state of Missouri.
1-2 pitch to Mike Pelfrey, and a swing and a miss. That's how we start the 4th inning of action here at Busch Stadium. 3rd strikeout for Jackson.
Be nice for him to settle down a bit, Dan. Maybe have a couple of 1, 2, 3 innings here in the middle of the game. Kind of settle into this 4-3 game. Maybe the Cardinals chip away a little bit more. Kind of has a feeling like the Cardinals have a better than average chance in this game.
Reyes has singled and scored back in the 1st, and a walk in the 3rd. 1 ball, 1 strike. Wonder how much money this guy has made himself this year, or maybe cost himself because of the recurring injuries with his legs. Tremendous player when healthy. How about this? Nice play on the backhand. Schumacher.
It's just a do or die play right here. He's going to throw up the glove and just hope you guess right. There's a bullet off the bat of Reyes. And Skip, who's had a very nice year defensively, throws the glove up. Just the right place, just the right time. To the average novice viewer watching that, you'd say, oh, that's just luck. Well, there's a lot more to it than that. Although Skip would probably say he was fortunate that he caught that ball, but some of it is just the hand-eye coordination to get your glove in the proper position as quickly as possible, because he did not have very long to make an adjustment on that. He just had to throw it out there.
Angel Pagan 2 for 2, pair of singles and a run scored. Off the end of the bat and a base hit into right. The Cardinals, Fox Sports, and the state of Missouri teaming up to help you to stop smoking. For more information, call the Quit line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
I was out with those folks on the Ford Plaza today. They were getting young people to sign up, which I thought was wonderful. Kyle McClellan has backed that initiative, as has Adam Wainwright.
Right down the middle to David Wright. Remember, it was just about over a year ago that he was hit in the head. And has been a proponent of using different helmets in the game of baseball, some that have a little bit more padding than others. Good pitch. 0-2. The Braves had the bases loaded. Nobody out. How did they fare? That's a tease, Rick.
That is well done, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's a deep tease.
Yes. To think long and hard about it. Right now they lead it 4-0.
I wonder what happened.
Well, they already had the 4 runs prior to the bases loaded.
Right.
So it's top of the 7th.
Suspense is killing them.
Here's the 0-2 pitch with 2 outs. Pitch out. As a former pitcher, would that drive you nuts? 0-2 and a guy like David Wright, you give up basically a pitch.
I seldom like pitch outs. I mean, I'm maybe 95% of pitch outs I'm not a big fan of. And
nice block.
And this would be one of the cases, Dan. You're absolutely right. You've got a chance to put away a hitter who's one of their top, if not their best hitter, and you have him 0-2, and now you're just saying, okay, I'm going to let you back into the count here by throwing a ball on purpose. Pitch out is successful, and you make a good throw and a good tag, and he calls him right, and you get him out. Then you still got to face David Wright next inning, and the count's 0-0.
And that's up and in. Count runs full now. 3-2.
Bad memories here for David Wright.
Human nature, you just would think it's still in the back of your mind a little bit.
I'm sure Jeff Francoeur, who was hit a couple of years ago.
Start the runner here from first. There he goes. The 3-2 is taken high. All right, here we go. Back down to Florida we go, and bases loaded for the Braves. 1 point, nobody out, and how about a double play? 6-4-3. Stays 4-0 Atlanta. Maybe a little momentum shift in that game.
We've certainly had one here.
Runners at first and second. Duda has doubled and also walked. How about that, though? Every Friday night beginning September 30th, you can watch high school football online at foxsportsmidwest.com. That is cool.
It's awesome.
Some of the best matchups in the state.
Any truth to the rumor you're doing all 4 of those games at
No.
the same time?
No, sir.
Oh, come on, Dan.
I did a little football this weekend, though.
I understand you did.
And it was a little football because it was 69 to nothing. So after the first few plays, there was some football, and then it was just game over after that.
I heard wonderful things about the telecast, and of course, Missouri Tiger fans are okay with that.
Very pleased.
Every once in a while, you have to have a game like that just to get some exercise.
What's going to change this weekend? They've got Oklahoma.
A little bit different.
In Oklahoma. 2-1. Oklahoma went down to number 5 Florida State and beat them. So they're coming off a huge win. 2-2.
Fun time of the year for me. Hockey has started, at least in terms of training camp. Guys are kind of getting going with that. College football is always fun. The NFL is back, and September baseball, to me, it's a fun time. The weather's cooler. It's a great time to be a sports fan.
Sure is. 2 balls, 2 strikes with 2 outs and 2 on. Duda is swing and a miss, and a strikeout for Edwin Jackson. Back at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin, and Jim Hayes, who are the 5 franchises without a batting champ in their history. AT&T trivia question. Mets, Astros, Brewers, Diamondbacks, and Rays. Mets also without a no-hitter. Correct?
That is correct. Number 1 hitters had great pitching in their past, but Tom Seaver had a no-hitter once he left the Mets and went to Cincinnati.
Right.
But 2 of the 5 teams on that list, the Milwaukee Brewers and the New York Mets, have a player at the top of the National League batting race right now in Reyes and Ryan Braun. So maybe down to 4 at the end of this year.
Seen Albert Pujols win a batting championship. Prior to that, it was Willie McGee. Yadier Molina has singled 1 for 1.
It was some year that Willie had. Willie had incredible season.
Slap to right, and that ball will get down over the wall, and it's a ground rule double. Going the other way in our Nissan drive of the game.
And Yadier Molina closing in on 300 himself. Cardinals have had a number of players above 290 closing in on 300. And a Yadi with a 2-for-2 night is up to 298.
The right fielder for the Mets, that's Duda, making Molina hustle for that ground rule double. And here is Skip Schumacher. The wind is blowing in very slightly here at the ballpark tonight. Big Cardinal fans, Jenny McNulty and Teddy and Hattie and Marley all watching tonight. Ground ball to the right side. Productive out for Schumacher.
Be interesting to watch this at bat here. We've seen some signs from Edwin Jackson that swings the bat pretty well. His batting average 259 coming in. He already has a base hit tonight. Mets will play the infield in, at least partially in. Reyes about halfway right now. Fox tracks this inning, brought to you by Missouri Lottery.
One out and a runner at third for Jackson. Note says, Dan, when we watch baseball, McNulty's on Fox Sports Midwest, Teddy is all smiles. So glad that they're along with us tonight.
Wonderful.
One-0 pitch to Jackson. Infield is in. Big gap in left center for Jackson. A single back in the third. We see that seen that he can really handle the bat. Elevated that pitch. And again, as you talked about earlier, Rick, Pelfrey working very slowly with runners on.
Yeah, we also talked about how he really does not have a good finishing pitch. Does throw hard, but really doesn't have that strikeout pitch. So maybe taking that time is trying to figure out what that might be.
Two away, and the first strikeout for Pelfrey, and it's up 2 for Cowell. Cowell is grounded out to second. RBI double in the third. They're in the top of the 8th. Atlanta leading 4-0 in their ball game. So the Cardinals, if they hold on, would have to win to stay 2.5 games back. Atlanta, by the way, with first and second, 1 out in that 8th inning.
You'd have to think that Atlanta Braves bullpen, Dan, is maybe getting a little bit nervous. They have some very good numbers. They have some very good arms, but they have young players that have coughed it up a couple of times in the last week, and maybe they start to doubt a little bit.
Cowell with a high fly ball into right center. Leadoff double. And Molina left stranded. Harris, Evans, Tolley coming up. The last Busch Bash of this season. This Friday in the Ford Plaza. Tony La Russa signing autographs from 5:15 until 6, with guaranteed autographs for the first 150 people who receive line tickets. And if they have more time, he'll stay out there and autograph some more. For more details, visit cardinals.com/promotions. Nice letter from Donna Sellers and Lisa Foster. They were kind enough to grace us with their presence last year, and a nice note back to us. We appreciate that.
Father and son talking baseball. One of the things I love about this game, joy about the ballpark and the dynamics that go on here, Dan. Talking about the note we just received from those folks that got a lot of joy out of coming up and being in the booth for a Cardinal telecast, and you've got a dad just enjoying a game with his son.
Ooh, watch out. That's off the bag. Schumacher to first. Safe. They almost got Willie Harris. Heads up play by Skip. Now you talk about hitting into some tough luck. That would be tough luck.
Yeah, that was almost a lot of things. After it almost hit the pitcher, then hits the bag. Only just about a step safe is Willie Harris. That was a rocket too.
Here's Nick Evans with a runner at first. Singled back in the third and also flied out to left. Four to 3. Mets on top. They jumped out to a 4-run lead. Cardinals came back with 3 of their own in the bottom of the third. Outfield is straight away. Then the 1-0 pitch. Picked by Molina. His quick hands. The 2-0 is tapped foul. Nice crowd on hand. $5 seats available for the ball game tomorrow. Here's a 2-1. 2-2.
Jackson has not been particularly sharp tonight, but he's just trying to survive right now. Sometimes you get into plan B survival mode and just say, let me just minimize the damage, try to keep the game close, give my team a chance to win. Every time you go out there, your first plan is to throw a no-hitter, which he's done before.
A 2-2 pitch. Like the double play here. In the air out to left. Alan Craig. One away. The no-hitter was close to what, 150 pitches that night.
A lot of walks.
Think about the pressure on the manager with a young guy out there, and you know history's being made. You've got your bullpen up. First sign of a base hit, he's out of that game, but it never came. Josh Tolley, 1 for 2. Ground ball. Foul. What would have been a sure double play. Cal McClellan up and throwing in the Cardinal bullpen.
Tim Welke right on that. That ball is just foul.
One ball, one strike. Mentioned earlier, the arch cut into the grass again after the U2 concert. Replace all that grass, and took a while for them to make sure it was okay to do that. It's back in for this last homestand. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Ground ball slowly hit. Schumacher goes to first, and Harris advancing on the play.
It took some concentration for Skip Schumacher. Willie Harris has to make the decision. Do I try to get on the other side of the ball, or do I wait back? Because he can't let that ball hit him. So he's trying to time it. He runs past the ball, jumps over top of it, and Skip Schumacher could not have seen that ball very well when he makes that play. Harris is right in front of him right now. Stays down and actually doesn't really catch the ball in the pocket of his glove. He got it on the heel.
Intentional walk here of Tejada.
Very nearly an error.
There'll be runners at first and second for Pelfrey coming into play tonight. Batting average of .096, and already tonight he is grounded out to short and struck out back in the fourth. What's on tap brought to you by Budweiser, Schwinden, and Garcia. Garcia looking for win number 13. What's on tap brought to you by Budweiser.
Jaime's looked better of late. It's really been the story of this surge by the Cardinals, starting pitching getting better.
Runners at first and second. Foul ball that caught Molina. It's amazing, as much as Yachty plays and some of the other catchers that have that huge workload, that they don't get injured more often. Would you agree?
I agree.
It's amazing. All the foul tips. Oh, 1 pitch.
And forget all that happens there, Dan. I'm going to try to crouch down like that in between innings, see if I can do it for about 30 seconds. And that might be about it.
Yeah. Well, we know he's conditioned to do that. It's everything else.
But that's not that easy to do.
No. And some guys, the catchers, will have the shin guards that have a little padding on the back so they can rest. Actually rest.
Now, you caught some.
Yes. It's hard.
You didn't have those resting.
No, I didn't. Here's a 1-2 pitch. The shin guards there of Gerald Laird, the backup, always ready. Or at least he should be.
So the catchers are really the only ones on a club that have to worry about a lot more equipment than everybody else does. And they're always carrying their own equipment and lugging it around. And where is it? Players just have to worry about a glove and a bat.
And even then, they get lost. Good to see that, speaking of catchers and equipment, Mike Matheny at the ballpark tonight. One of our colleagues at Fox Sports Midwest, but he also does a lot of work with handicapped children with his foundation.
John Mabry's at the park tonight. Saw Scott Cooper. Todd Worrell at the ballpark tonight.
2-2 is hit out of play. Boy, they are shallow in the outfield here for Pelfrey.
Well, I like this move, though. I mean, you're just saying, look, this guy's going to beat us. He's going to have to beat us by hitting the ball hard. If he gets a little blue pit to right, I don't want the Mets to be able to score a run from second base. So play as shallow as you can and make him hit the ball over your head.
3-2. Been that kind of night right now for Jackson. Really a struggle with the strike zone. Runners go, and it's a high fly ball out to left. Craig is back, and can't make the catch.
And guess what? He hit it over his head.
So Pelfrey picks up a big base hit for the Mets. He was playing so far in, as we mentioned, and he was awfully close and looked like it may have caught the very tip of his glove.
A long way to go for Alan Craig, and Pelfrey does exactly what the Cardinals were making him do. That ball was in the air a long time to left.
5-3. Big at bat in the game right here. Top of the fifth, and you've got a dangerous man in Reyes with 2 runners in scoring position. McClellan is loose. He's ready to go if they pull the trigger here.
So you catch a break on the ground rule double. Down by 2. Just don't let it get any worse.
Reyes already the 4th time he's come to the plate in the ball game. Base hit, run scored in the first. He walked in the third and grounded out to second. 0-1 pitch. Reyes rips it foul.
So, Dan, I know folks may be frustrated by that defensive positioning for Pelfrey, but I would say that Tony La Russa would do that again if he had the chance. The point still being the pitcher's going to have to hit the ball 375 feet, which he did, to earn a hit, so he earned it. Still better than a blue pit.
Here's the 0-2. You know, they're trying to find a position for Alan Craig, and you think about next year, and Matt Holliday unavailable again tonight. So Craig in left. He's been in right. He's been in center, second, third, first. Here's a 1-2. Fights it off. Slowly hit to short for Kyle up with it and makes the play. Cardinals have Craig, Pujols, and Berkman coming up. This date in history, back in 2000, the Cardinals beat the Phils 5-4 at Busch. 3-run ninth inning rally. Ray Lankford wins it with a walk-off single off of Roger McDowell. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin, Jim Hayes with you, our Fox Sports Midwest crew. Always a great job all season long. Guys in the truck and the gals. Tom Mee, our director. Mike Kelling, our producer. Brian McCann. Keith O'Brien. Danny Martinez. Keith Oberman, and also Keith Korn. They do just a wonderful job.
Dan Hyatt helps us out as well. So many very hard workers do a lot of things to make the telecast work, Dan, and you and I have the pleasure, along with Al, of talking through the game, but so much work is done way before the game by those fine ladies and gentlemen.
And after.
You bet.
Alan Craig. It's grounded out to short and also singled. 1 for 2 tonight. They're in the ninth, top of the ninth, and it's 4-0 Atlanta. Two and 0. My understanding is that the Cardinals will honor Jason Isringhausen before one of the games with the Mets, either tomorrow night or Thursday afternoon. Picked up save number 300. Good for Izzy.
Hadn't heard that the Cardinals were going to do that, and that's very appropriate honor. Came up with the Mets originally, but really his career was made being a Cardinal. And talking with the Mets people, they think he's been way more than they could have hoped for this year, and been on the shelf for a few weeks. Did pick up that 300 save, and talking about coming back and working out, getting in good shape, and maybe trying again.
2-2. I know that he felt personally 300 was very, very important to him. Kind of that final milestone to reach in his career, and he's battled through so much in his career injury wise. The big three: Pulsifer, Wilson, Isringhausen. Little flare. Reyes won't get to it. Base hit, Alan Craig. That's twice now they've tried to go inside, and he's fought it off. Once to right, that time to left center.
I guess they feel as if that's less dangerous in there to Alan Craig. He's not going to get the fat part of the bat on it, but he's still been able to get the base hits. Strong enough, keeps his hands just inside the ball. Really fists this one to center field. Almost an abbreviated inside swing that he just gets enough of the bat on to bring Albert to the plate as the tying run one more time.
Pujols. RBI back in the third, number 97. Also singled in the first. Two and 0. Berkman on deck.
Go pitch here. Manny Acosta is currently the closer for the Mets.
Pujols, base hit, center field. Craig was running on the play. He'll wind up at third. Reyes nearly had a double play.
Well, that's what Tony La Russa has been saying about the double plays this year. When he starts the runner, so many times his guys hit into double plays because they hit line drives. But he sends Alan Craig here, and this time it works. Trying to stay out of the double play with Pujols. Ends up being a base hit to center field. First and third now for the Cardinals and Lance Berkman.
Yeah, you're talking about bullpens earlier and how the Cardinals match up favorably in this series. Octavio Dotel, one of 5 different Cardinals now with 2 or more saves this season. Think about that. Runners at first and third, nobody down.
I think that's an advantage ultimately, Dan, that you've got 4 or 5 guys that have a little experience closing, so they're not fully outside the box if you need them. And that's really what you have to have if you don't have the bona fide guy that's, lights out 95% of the time.
1-0 to Berkman. 2-0. Freeze is on deck. Batista, we know him, Miguel Batista, and Carrasco. He's a sidewinder throwing in the bullpen. Pair of righties for the Mets. The 2-0 pitch, runner goes. That's Pujols. Stolen base, no chance. Great read. 3-0 the count. Turn him loose and let's see what happens.
That's really inexcusable for the Mets to allow that stolen base so easily in a game where you're up by 2. I mean, they've got to, in their mind, say, I've got to keep that guy in first base off of second base. Can't just worry about the runner at third. You've got the lead. Now the double plays out of the question.
On 3-0, up the middle, that's a base hit. Pujols being waved in. Throw to the plate, way offline. Tied 5-5.
Lance Berkman could have 100 RBIs before this season's over. A couple here. Hard ground ball up the middle. Cardinals playing aggressive on the base paths. They sent Alan Craig first on the hit and run. Then Pujols steals second. And then they both score. On this hit, crowd loving it here at Busch Stadium.
They will stick with Pelfrey. 5-5 here in the bottom of the 5th. Again, this is a ball game. The Cardinals trailed at 1 point, 4-0. Now we're tied up 5-5. David Freese with an RBI double with 2 outs back in the third.
And they're seeing that score go up in Miami. And maybe the Braves just getting a little bit tighter.
Short lead at first by Berkman. And a strike to David Freese.
Dan, we knew what it was like scoreboard watching in the month of August when the Milwaukee Brewers were winning almost every one of their games. It was frustrating to look up even a game you'd win 2 in a row, and you wouldn't pick up any ground.
0-1 pitch to Freese. There's not many guys that you see go the opposite way as well as David Freese and with the kind of power that he possesses.
Alan Craig's kind of like that.
1-1 could be a double play. Backing up Reyes. How athletic of a play is that by Reyes at short? Man, is he fun to watch.
It was like ballet right there, wasn't it? All smiles, too. He jumps and he starts to throw on the way down, by the way. Tejada, who they really like at second base. Mets personnel talk about him as a star of the future. They really like this kid. He's just 21 years of age, and I'm not sure he's going to get to play with Reyes much longer.
So Berkman, the RBIs to tie it up, and here is John Jay. It is fun watching guys like Jose Reyes, Rafael Furcal, and the way that they play that shortstop position. You saw it firsthand with Ozzie. This is backhanded and whack, whips it over to first.
Still none better than Ozzie, but Reyes is pretty good.
Baseball Tonight is brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. For a limited time, Jack's Really Big Chicken Sandwich Combo is back for only $3.99 plus tax at participating restaurants. And by Moneyball, starring Brad Pitt, in theaters September 23rd, rated PG-13. So you have Moneyball coming out, but what happens when Tampa Bay heads to the playoffs this year and they've lost every high-priced salary guy? Madden Ball?
Isn't it amazing what they're doing?
Oh, it's incredible. It's our Chevy call to the bullpen. Kyle McClellan in. 41st appearance.
Billy Beane, by the way, a minor league outfielder for the Mets, came up right around my era. He was in the Darryl Strawberry outfield in Jackson, Mississippi, their Double-A club at the time, and he was a pretty good player. He was a top-round choice that didn't really pan out, and then kind of found a shtick and now has a movie. Simple as that.
Scott Boras, not many know this, but was in the Cardinals farm system. When you think about GMs and agents, Scott Boras, one of the most powerful agents in all of sports and arguably the most powerful in baseball.
Which makes you pretty powerful across the board.
No question. Here's a ground ball to Schumacher. Nope, check that. The change at second base. That's Nick Punto. Chevy bringing you Fox Tracks this half inning. I don't know about you. I'd love to see Nick Punto back.
I would. He's a glue player to me. You can't really define him in one particular way. A little bit like Aaron Miles. He hits pretty well. Probably a better defender, much better defender than Aaron Miles. Not really great at anything, but good at a lot of things. And he has some versatility. You can play him at short, play him at third if need be.
He's come up with some big hits last couple of weeks. David Wright at the plate, 2 balls and 1 strike.
The guy we haven't been able to see very much of here in September is Tyler Green. Really looking forward to seeing if he could continue what he was doing in AAA, which was outstanding. Best shortstop in the AAA league. Runs well, hits for power down in AAA for average, and really can't get on the field now.
Tails into David Wright, 3-2. Called out on strikes back in the first. RBI in the third and a walk in the fourth. Real defensive swing that time by David Wright. That ball is really exploding in on his hands.
Al, as taken to calling Kyle McClellan our vulture because he just swoops in and gets a lot of victories out of the bullpen. And maybe Tony La Russa hoping for a little bit more here by using McClellan in a tie ball game.
Broken bat went inside again. Bad hop. Freese stays with it and makes the play. Took a nasty hop at the end there on David Freese.
Has to come up with it, somehow is able to cradle it with his glove in his bare hand. Fortunate to come up with that. There's a lot of coordination going on. You're on the run, you're off balance, and then you've got to make a good throw.
Edwin Jackson tonight, 5 innings, 5 runs, 9 hits, walked 4 strikeouts, hit a man, 94 pitches. Lucas Duda with 2 outs and nobody on for the Mets here in the top of the 6th. Three and 0. Looking ahead to next year, Rick, you look at the right side of the bullpen. That's a point of strength without any question for the Cardinals.
No doubt. Particularly looking forward to seeing Eduardo Sanchez come back and see if he can be what he was at the beginning of the season. He came out of nowhere and became a closer for this ball club, and you thought maybe, you know, that was a job he wasn't going to give up. He was nasty. And then after getting hurt, Fernando Salas certainly picked him up.
You can follow the Cardinals for the final, well, I guess 8 games after tonight. MLB.com @bat 11 app for your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. From Florida, the Braves and Marlins. And it's a final. Atlanta holds on. So, magic number for the Braves has been reduced. Cardinals essentially now in a must-win situation. That's current 3 back St. Louis. San Francisco 4 back.
And the victory tonight, if the Cardinals can get it, gets them to 2.5, which is really, again, 2 games in the loss column. Cardinals will play 1 extra game, so they have it in their power to pick up that game. And that's what we mean by the loss column. The Braves have 1 off day left in the season. The Cardinals do not. So really the loss column is what matters.
And here's a ground ball too short for Kyle. Takes it himself. 5-5 here at Busch Stadium. A 5-5 game. The Cardinals have been out, rather they have out-hit the Mets 10-9. The Mets have stranded 9 tonight. The Cardinals have stranded 4. Pelfrey still in the ball game as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Molina 2 for 2 with a single and a double. Stinson, a right-hander, getting loose in the pen for the Mets. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, jam shot to David Wright. 1 away. Brings in Schumacher. First time that Molina's been retired. Skip tonight is grounded out to first and grounded to second. 0 for 2. Just thinking again about what Atlanta has left. I mentioned before, we think they'll see Steven Strasburg this weekend, which,
good luck.
Yeah, would never be easy. And, you know, if you're the Phillies, and they're not playing great baseball, obviously, right now, you want to get those guys on track. So there's no reason to think that they wouldn't, in those final 3 games, play the regulars, play hard.
And this isn't the Nationals of last year or of the year before. They're actually tied with the Mets right now. Now, they're 25 games behind the Phillies. But that is a different Nationals team. There's Strasburg. A pretty good matchup there, he and Hudson.
We saw that Lowe last time out was knocked all over the place. He's 9-15. Chien-Ming Wang with Washington. It's taken a long time for him to come back.
Now, what you may get in that Phillies series is abbreviated starts from some of their starting pitchers. That may happen. The lineup, Charlie Manuel has said, I'm going to go for that lineup, but you really want Cliff Lee and Roy Halladay pitching 9 innings in their tune-up start for the playoffs? I would say not.
Schumacher with a fly ball out to left. 2 away. Two outs and nobody on for Nick Punto. First plate appearance for Punto. Just underway, the Giants and Dodgers. Lincecum and Kershaw. How about Ian Kennedy, the first 20-game winner in the National League for the Arizona Diamondbacks? Could be the Cy Young Award winner. Kershaw could win it.
Kershaw would be my vote today. But a couple of more starts for all these guys. We'll see where they end up.
2-2. Cliff Lee, Roy Halladay. That'll be a pair that's talked about. A 2-2 pitch.
I don't quite buy the splitting of the vote issue when it comes to the Cy Young. I think the MVP becomes a splitting of the vote issue when you say, well, who really was the team that drove the Cardinals? Was it Edmonds? Was it Pujols? Was it Rolen? Well, let's vote for the other guy. Let's split the votes. But I think Cy Young just goes to the guy who had the best year.
A strikeout of Punto. That sends us to the 7th, tied up at 5. 5-5 game as we head to the 7th inning here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin. Al has the night off. Jim Hayes is with us as well. And this is Nick Evans. Top of the 7th. Second inning of work for Kyle McClellan. Pitch is taken low. 2 balls and 1 strike.
McClellan's issue with his hip is kind of a thing of the past right now, Dan. It doesn't really show any signs of favoring that. He's still working off the first base side of the rubber. When he hurt himself early in the season, he moved from the third base side to the first base side to try to alleviate some of the torque that he was putting on his hips. And because he landed so far across his body, and you know, I'm not 100% sure that long-term that's still the best thing for him, because I think there's part of a deception in the movement that he got from throwing across his body that maybe he's missing from that first base side.
A valuable member of this club this season when you think about his role as a starter and now as a reliever.
7-1 at one time. Where would the Cardinals have been without he and Kyle Loesch? The start that both of them had was outstanding. I mean, outstanding. Chris Carpenter wasn't winning games yet. Jake Westbrook was struggling.
Time call by Tolley.
He had real issues in the bullpen at the time.
Bunt foul. Top of the 7th, 5-5 game. We know that Atlanta has won, so a crucial ball game tonight for the Redbirds. Mets team that is without Johan Santana. K-Rod now with Milwaukee. Carlos Beltran with San Francisco, picked up at the deadline. Bunted, and it's a fair ball. McClellan nearly threw it wide and into right field. Runners at first and second. Nobody out.
Well, Kyle McClellan tries to do a little bit too much on this play. He's trying to dive for the ball to catch it in the air, but by sliding, he's got really no balance to be able to make a clear throw to first base, so he throws off balance. Would have been plenty of time to Albert, but because he's off balance and he rushed it a bit, he ends up not getting it out. So this is hustle, yes, but ill-advised.
Right-hander up and throwing for the Cards in the pen.
Frustrating. The Mets are giving you an out, and you don't get one.
Octavio Dotel getting loose in the bullpen. Turner is on deck. Ruben Tejada will be the hitter. Base hit for Tolley. First two have reached. Maybe bunt again. McClellan hops off the mound, hesitated just a bit. Punto covering at first. Runners at second and third following the sacrifice with just one out.
There are some scary possibilities with that bunt. I think McClellan first thinks that David Freese is going to get it, but now he realizes it better be me, because David was taking a step back towards third base just in case McClellan would have gotten to that quicker.
You believe, and I'm kind of in agreement with you, that in games like this in the future, you could see your closer come in with the game on the line right here in the 7th. You know, Mott would be a strikeout guy, obviously, that you think about. Right now you stay with McClellan, but it is an interesting thought in the game of baseball just in general.
I think you have to think about that. And I think teams are going to actually start going. I think teams will eventually start going to 2 or 3 closers and find ways to develop multiple guys. I don't think it's in a team's best interest just to have one closer. Now you're going to have to develop them better. You're going to have to give them opportunities, and unfortunately closers want to be the guy at the end that gets all the saves, that gets all the money. Well, you want to win. I'd rather have 3 guys that I feel I could get the out when I need it, whether it's the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, and let them be interchangeable.
Pelfrey on the night, 6 innings, 10 hits, 5 runs, struck out 2 and 100 pitches. McClellan wants to talk about it here. Turner, Justin Turner at the plate. 266 hitter overall.
The Astros had that for a year or so when they had Dotel and Billy Wagner. They had from the left and the right side, and yeah, it was most of the time it was Wagner, but Boy, Dotel was no day at the beach at that time because he was throwing in the mid-90s with a nasty slider.
Yeah.
And I just think that makes a team seem lights out. You think about the Reds teams with Dibble and Norm Charlton. Not even sure those years, late 80s, I guess. Those two guys just blowing gas out of the bullpen from the left and the right side.
Breaking ball, a good one. 0-2. Talking about the Nasty Boys.
The Nasty Boys.
Cincinnati.
I mean, that was just, you knew that if you were losing going into the 7th inning, you were probably going to lose.
Big pitch here. 0-2 the count. Reyes on deck. Kyle needs a strikeout. The 0-2. Justin Turner, good numbers average wise with runners in scoring position this year. Two and two. Line drive caught by Pujols. Huge play by Albert. Saves 2 runs. Nearly turned it into a double play.
Well, you don't want to be melodramatic, but this could be a key play in the season for the Cardinals. This is a game you need to win. That ball gets in the corner. That's 2 runs. The Cardinals are trailing by 2 in a game they absolutely have to win. Update. Dodgers with a run. Lead San Francisco 1-0. And it's that time of the year, Dan, where I'm not sure it is out of line to say that every single play like that has tremendous meaning.
No doubt.
And I think that's what makes it fun.
Would you feel more comfortable pitching to Pagan with the bases loaded as opposed to Reyes with runners at second and third?
I think I'd rather pitch to Reyes only because Pagan has 3 hits today. Reyes has a better batting average. Yes. I just don't like putting extra runners on base.
1 ball, 1 strike.
And I think once you put Reyes on base, now you make Pagan a better hitter because you take away the margin of error for the pitcher. He has to throw strikes, and the batter knows it.
The 1-1. 1-2.
You can tease Reyes a little bit here. You can expand the strike zone. You can make him try to hit your pitch. All those things you won't do with the bases loaded.
Busch Stadium ready to erupt. If he can get out of the jam. Top of the lineup coming up. One, 2. 2-2. The 2-2. Ground ball slowly hit. Foul. Two and 2. Runners at second and third. 5-5 here in the top of the 7th. The 2-2. Full count on Reyes, who just might be the batting champion of this season before it's all said and done. Walked him. So 2 walks in the inning. And now it's Pagan. Evans, Tolley, and now Reyes. As Rick told you, Pagan with 3 base hits, 3 for 4 on the night. Off-speed pitch taken for a ball.
Cardinals have already had a break in this inning. The line drive to Albert Pujols. They could use another one. How about a pop-up? Pagan jam himself, pop it up on the infield. We can start breathing again.
An uneasy feeling now as he falls behind 2 balls and no strikes. Hope and Sky Washburn are watching the ball game tonight. Favorite player, Kyle McClellan. $37,746 here tonight. 2 balls, no strikes, bases loaded. 5-5 game here in the 7th.
And here's where you hope Pagan gets a little over anxious. 2-0 pitch is a good pitch to hit. Get over anxious, jam yourself.
3-0. Remember Pagan, a walk-off homer in the bottom of the 10th. 6-5 win. First matchup between the 2 teams. 3-0. Take a strike, maybe 2. Walked him. Walks in the go-ahead run. Dotel coming in when we come back. Dotel has seen a lot of work since he came over in the deal. Brought him to St. Louis. 23 games, 1-2, 3.66 ERA. It's our Chevy call with a pen. Dotel comes in, trying to make sure this stays a 1-run New York lead at 6-5.
And it bears repeating, Dan, that there are some pitchers in the Cardinals bullpen who really need the rest, but they're the pitchers that are pitching the best. Kyle McClellan would be one of them. Dotel would be another one that you'd like to see him get some rest, but at some point Tony La Russa may be forced to go deeper into that bullpen than he really wants to. You've got 9 games left in the season. You don't want to lose with your 7th best reliever, but at some point you're going to have to get some rest for these guys.
David Wright.
Big moment here.
Bases loaded for David Wright. 2 down. McClellan walked 3 in the inning, 4 in the ball game. Bases loaded. Pretty good speed out there. You get a ball in the gap, you never know what they may do.
Schumacher very deep in center. Playing at the very top of the arch.
1 ball, 1 strike. Wright has been on base once with a walk. 1-2. Patel still gets it up there to 92, 93 miles an hour.
Still throws well.
Slings the ball up there.
He still seems to have that kind of rubber arm too, where he can just keep going out there and just keep throwing, and you half expect him to be tired and lose his stuff, but he just keeps letting it go.
One, two.
Not a strike, but a tough pitch for David Wright to lay off.
The 2-2. Got him that time. No argument from David Wright. Mets take the lead. Time to stretch. 10 hits aside, the Mets have had all kinds of chances to bust this game wide open. They've left 12 on tonight. They have a lead of 6-5 from Chavez Ravine. Dodger Stadium, Tim Lincecum to Sands. And that's a home run. 2-0 in favor of Los Angeles. Again, the Giants have won 8 straight. Their starting pitching has gotten on fire here down the stretch. Josh Stinson is the new pitcher. Gets the top of the lineup to greet him here in the bottom of the 7th.
Still think it's worth remarking, Dan, about the demeanor, the faces of the Cardinal players when you see them now. They're not faces of panic, stress, worry. You can't play the game of baseball that way. They just seemed a lot more relaxed. Adam Wainwright, guy's kind of loose, but not so loose that you're not caring about what's going on.
By the way, one of the most commonly asked questions that I've gotten now in the last couple of weeks has been, would Wainwright come back if the Cardinals make it into postseason play? And the answer is definitely not.
You got that answer very directly from the general manager, did you not?
Yes, I did. It was also when I asked him about bringing up a couple of minor league pitchers that had great years. One being Shelby Miller. I said, would you ever just want to give him a little taste of the big leagues?
And the answer?
No. Next question. All right, we're moving on.
Didn't mince words, did he?
No.
Well, interesting. Adam Wainwright spoke to a large crowd, about 7,000 people here for the Christian Day at the ballpark, and one of the things he told the crowd there, and he said it publicly at other times, that he tried to convince himself that he could come back here because he didn't want to be lax. And he felt himself getting that way in his rehab, so he wanted to push himself.
For Cowell is out. Nice play by Tejada.
See why they like him. He knows the reputation of Furcal. He knows he has to hurry. Bang, bang. Adrian Chambers called him safe in the background, but Tim Welke thought differently.
Alan Craig, pair of hits, singles. Tried to bust him inside. Set up outside. It's a strike. The 0-1. Popped up. Shallow right. Tejada is there. Who wants it? The right fielder makes the play. Catch all the action of Major League Baseball's postseason on Fox and TBS. The excitement begins September 30th. The division series on TBS.
Dan, there have been 11 runs in this game, and every one of the runs were scored in an inning where the leadoff runner got on base. And the only time in this game where the leadoff runner got on base and there was not a run was Yadier Molina's leadoff double in the 4th inning, where he was stranded. The Cardinals weren't able to move him over. Actually, they did move him over, but Edwin Jackson wasn't able to drive him in. He struck out with 1 out, and then Furcal flew out.
First pitch to Pujols. A strike. Pujols, RBI tonight, up to 97. 2 singles. Berkman on deck. The 0-1 pitch.
Dan Martinez, knowing that and realizing that trend in this game, passing it along from the truck. And it really points out how important it is to get that leadoff runner on base. Put a little pressure on a pitcher, make him work, make him sweat a little bit. Of course, if you're pitching Albert, you're probably stressed enough already. I know I would be. I threw him batting practice to him once, spring training.
Rockets.
I wanted to be able to tell my grandchildren I threw to Albert, and it really wasn't that much fun.
No, I could imagine. The 1-1. It's a nasty pitch right there.
Glad they gave you a screen.
Does he come back with that same pitch? Does Pujols make the adjustment? The 1-2.
Well, the secret always is, and the question always is, you may throw that same pitch again, but do you throw it as well? Especially the breaking ball. It's hard to repeat sharp back to back.
The 2-2. The 3-2. Pujols, high chopper to right, over his head. And he'll stop at first base.
The 3-for-4 night for Albert, over the head of David Wright. Albert rounds first. He's thinking about second. And good choice. Well, you can actually round it hard and watch the throw, and that's what he did. He picked up and he saw that it was a good throw, so then you can get back in time. I think base runners are taught that. You know, the really good base runners will make the outfielder make the good throw, recognize that it's not offline, and then get back. If it is offline, keep going.
Tony Angelis with that camera work. Perched right by the foul pole and left. Berkman pops one foul and out of play.
Berkman must have incredibly strong forearms and hands, Dan, because he just has some easy swings and the ball just jumps off his bat. Even that little foul ball, kind of a half swing, and it went almost towards the upper deck on the left side.
Shift is on for Berkman. The other thing is, watching him day in and day out, you appreciate the batting eye that he has. Tremendous. We knew that coming in. That was his reputation. The numbers showed you that as well in his career, but you see it firsthand. He's tremendous.
Albert's already stolen a base, but I do not think he will go here.
The 1-1 to Berkman. Off-speed pitch ripped into center field. Pujols on his way to third. First and third with 2 outs.
And again, the base running of Albert Pujols, knowing the situation. The center fielder, Pagan, has a decent arm, but you're not going to throw the ball to third base and let that runner go from home to second base and Lance Berkman. So the line drive to center, Pujols knows they will not throw to third. There's no way Pagan has to get the ball in the second base. Otherwise, Berkman can advance, and all of a sudden, you've got the go-ahead run at second base. So take that extra base. Smart baseball, again, for Mr. Pujols.
Carrasco and Burdak. Lefty getting loose in the pen. For Kyle, grounded out to start the inning. Fly out to right by Craig. Base hit by Pujols. Base hit Berkman, and here's David Freese. Highest in the National League. That bullpen ERA 4.22 for New York. Two on, two outs. David Freese tonight with an RBI double back in the third. Twice he has grounded to short. 351 average in this spot. The 1-0. Daniel Descalso has moved to the on-deck circle. That's Dotel's spot. Freese sitting on 9 homers this year. Trying to shoot one to right, out of play. Crowd right now on the edge of their seats. All important at bat, knowing that Atlanta has won. 6-5 Mets, Cardinals half of the 7. The 2-1. 2-2. Now, having seen that, they've gone inside. Rick, do you go back there with David Freese?
I think he's going to try that breaking ball that he threw so well to Albert Pujols to get the swing and the miss. I think he's feeling like, boy, that's my out pitch here. And I think he's trying to set that pitch up with the fastball in. I think he's going to go breaking ball away here.
Hold the runner at first, so little hitting lane to the right side. The 2-2 runner goes. Berkman wanted to get into a rundown and possibly have Pujols tied up. Base hit could give the Cardinals a lead. Interesting play here.
Berkman takes off, actually slows down, nobody covering. Actually, the second baseman Tejada was covering, but Tolle didn't want to throw that ball away. Again, very defensive way of handling the running game for the Mets all night long.
Rick, if he throws, I think he would have had him with a decent throw.
Well, you've got to trust your middle infielders that they can get Berkman out before Pujols will score. This is the big leagues after all.
Big gap left center. Runners at second and third. The 3-2 pitch. Freese spoils it.
Well, he didn't go with that curveball. He doubled up on the fastball, and then he threw him another one. Now that it's 3-2, Freese has seen 3 fastballs in a row. Maybe he can jump on this fourth one.
The 3-2 pitch. Outside. Bases loaded. That also saved a run. Almost went to the backstop. Well, we saw it so many times this year. Bases loaded now. Pujols, Berkman, Freese. And the aspect that you saw so many times, Daniel Descalso late in games coming through, especially in the first half. Going to go with the lefty, so you may see Tony pull back to Descalso and use Ryan Theriot. We'll find out when we come back. Six to 5 Mets, bottom of the 7, 2 outs, bases loaded. Head back out to the West Coast. Giants and Dodgers. Kershaw in a jam here a little bit. And gets him with a big bender. Dodgers on top. Keep an eye on that game out at Chavez Ravine. Tim Burnack is the new pitcher, the lefty. So as we thought, Tony may pull back Descalso. He has done that. Appearance number 70 for the lefty. Ryan Theriot. Pujols with a 2-out base hit, and Berkman a single to center. Walk to freeze. That's how they loaded him up. Can Ryan Theriot deliver? Molina on deck. Outfield is shallow, in particular Pagan. 6 for 15, Theriot. Big gap in the left center. That's 6 for 15 with the bases loaded. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two for 6 with a double against this lefty. Stadium is ready to erupt. The 1-1. Theriot, fly ball, left center. This ball will get down all the way to the wall, over the wall. Ground rule double. Ryan Theriot comes through.
Hits this ball right on the nose, and the celebration of Theriot at second base is great to see. Actually, a break goes the other way as that ball bounces out, but Theriot, after getting to second base, acknowledging his teammates. Good for you, Ryan Theriot.
And you know it's been a frustrating go since the acquisition of Furcal. Playing time has been cut significantly.
You bet. And when Albert Pujols and Lance Berkman both crossed home plate, they were pointing out towards Theriot and trying to give him as much encouragement as they can. And that is a big, big hit for the Redbirds.
Schumacher is due up. Intentional walk to Molina to get to Schumacher. So we'll see if we see a pinch hitter. 6 a serious number, and it will be Tony Cruz. Cards have scored 6. Matter of fact, they're at 7. 25-cent drinks tomorrow all day at On the Run at Mobile.
Tony Cruz has 3 hits as a pinch hitter. He's been decent in that regard. Like what he's done with the bat. He's going to have to face another pitcher.
DJ Carrasco. 41st appearance. For Tony La Russa, expanded rosters is like a kid on Christmas morning.
That's exactly right, Dan. He's used 4 bullets in this inning, to use a different analogy. But I do think that that's something he loves. Just more pieces to move around. And you know, he really had a game on the road where he was running out of bench players with an expanded roster. And Cardinals Cardinals have already used. Well, they used 2 players in this inning that they didn't actually use, right? Descalso and Cruz. But you do have Adrian Chambers. You still have Corey Patterson now left on the bench. Gerald Laird, Tyler Green, and Shane Robinson. And don't be surprised if we don't see them before long.
So here is Chambers with the bases loaded. What a big hit he had in Philly. 2 outs. Ball 1.
You start to understand the Mets bullpen woes a little bit, don't you?
Big time. You're seeing it firsthand. 1 ball, 1 strike. David Wright is well off the line at third, even with the bag, respecting the speed of Chambers, but it's opened up some hitting lanes to that side. The play behind the runner, obviously at first with the bases loaded. That's Molina, but still trying to keep him fairly close. Strike 2 on Chambers.
We'd said the first 11 runs in this game scored when the leadoff runner was able to reach base. This inning is an exception. The Cardinals had 2 outs, nobody on, and then got it started with an Albert Pujols base hit, a little harmless ground ball hit to the left side, and 5 batters later they have the lead.
Can Chambers come through again? The 1-2 pitch. Foul. 1-2 to Chambers. Foul back again. We'll do it again.
Battling, isn't he?
This team is not quit at all in September. Think they're out of the race? Nope. You think they're out of games? Nope. 1-2 pitch. Chambers down the right field line. Stay fair. It will. 2 to all it goes. 1 run is in. 2. How about a third? Here comes Molina. Chambers flying into third with a triple. That dude can flat out run.
Wow, was that fun to watch.
Oh, man.
Cardinals have come up big here in the 7th inning. A 5-run 7th with 2 outs. Outstanding at bat for Chambers, and that was fun to watch him run. And Dan, not only the run, but the finish at third, the head first slide, the arms pointed upwards at the end. That was just fun to see.
0-2 pitch. Punto shoots it foul. It's fun to watch speed. Oh, man. Punto, base hit, right center. Chambers will score. All this done with 2 outs. It all started with 2 outs and nobody on. Giving this team a little spark, hasn't he?
Adrian Chambers is now part of this team. He is so connected right now. Guys are so happy for him. Look at that.
Here is for Cowell. 11-6, St. Louis.
You get a base hit to score somebody in game number 50 of a season, you'll have 2 or 3 guys shake your hand. But at this time of the year, you get a big hit like that, everybody wants a piece of it.
It's such a grind when you see a young guy come up, play with the youthful exuberance. You hear that all the time, but it does send a jolt into a team. They say, man, this is fun. This is a kid's game again. It's fun to win. The 2-1. Ground ball to the right side. The Cardinals pick up 6 in the bottom of the 7th. Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Bud Light Lime, the just right taste of Bud Light with a refreshing splash of 100% natural lime flavor. By Bank of America, where ATM deposits are as easy as an infield fly. No deposit slip, no envelope with Bank of America. Member FDIC. And by AT&T. One of the biggest hits in the ball game from Ryan Theriot. He stays in. He'll play second base. Chambers, he stays in at center field. Triple and 3 RBIs. There's Nick Punto. He added to the lead. He's at third base. And the new pitcher is Zipchinski, the lefty. Again, a reminder, $5 seats available for the ball game tomorrow and again on Thursday. 3.79 ERA for Zipchinski. And a nice walk up to the ballpark tonight. Hope we see again tomorrow. Boy, it's fun to do games with meaning.
Oh,
9 games left and they're still in it. It's unbelievable.
Well, you add the youthful play of Adrian Chambers and the kind of the exciting way the Cardinals are approaching every at-bat. They're just kind of fighting tooth and nail. You add that to what's going on in the standings, the crowd sensing it, all that coming together. It's just fun.
You know, 2 guys that you think about in this game, and he's an obvious choice in Chambers, but the strikeout for Dotel, bases loaded with 2 outs. Make sure it stayed a 1-run lead, and then I think about the at-bat for Ryan Theriot. Good guy, well respected, plays hard, and Theriot comes through with a huge base hit tonight. And to cap it off, Nick Punto. 2-2 to Duda. Got him. That's how we start the 8th with a strikeout.
Well, Ryan Theriot could have taken this team south with a bad attitude if he had chosen to do that, but he did not. Just really admired the way he's handled everything. He's been a cheerleader. Sounds like a rah-rah, and it's more than that. It's somebody that is with you while you're playing. And a baseball cheerleader is not just somebody that yells stuff. Okay, it's somebody that when you do something well, they're there to shake your hand, and when you're down, they're picking you up. I mean, you're being a teammate. And so when we talk about a teammate, being a good teammate, I mean, there's an attitude that permeates a clubhouse, and if it's not there, it's a long season. If you've got guys that are pulling against their teammates, and Theriot simply hasn't done that.
Valentino Pasucci is the hitter. Ground ball to short, charged by Furcal. 2 outs. You mentioned it, Rick. You get a sense of just a little bit of energy here at the ballpark. This is different than a night in June or July. There is a sense of energy at the ballpark tonight.
And we're not going to quite call it the energy that you get at a ballpark in October, but it's a step above what you get in June and July. Feel a little buzz. People on the edge of their seats. They're talking about the game. You can tell it's not just the experience at the ballpark. We have wonderful things here at the ballpark to do, but when your team is in it, the thing to do is to watch the game on the field.
0-1 pitch to Nick Evans.
The kiss cam becomes a little more irrelevant. Let's put it that way.
Good point. Bottom of the fourth, and it's 2-0 Dodgers. I didn't really understand if I ever had relevancy before that.
Well,
but now I've been told.
But to some people it does.
Sure.
I mean, they love it, but the game's the game right now.
1-1 pitch. This ball game tonight kind of epitomizes what the Cardinals have been like the last month. You know, down 4-0. Come back. Mets go back up. A bases loaded walk, which is about as disheartening as it gets. And yet they come back, and now they lead it 11-6.
Well, you mentioned Dotel's strikeout. That's critical. David Wright was at the plate. He could have broken the game open at that time, and who knows how the pressure would have been handled by the Cardinals at that point. But a one-run lead just didn't seem very insurmountable. Really, the 4-0 lead early on we didn't feel like was going to be a problem because you knew the Mets were going to give up some.
2-out walk by Zabchinski. You talked about it moments ago, Rick, the bases loaded situation. David Wright, veteran, been through just about everything he can. And then Chambers for the Cardinals, bases loaded, just getting going here in the big leagues, and he comes through with a monster base hit, a triple to score 3.
Well, and that's really the story of the game. What happened with those 2 bases loaded situations late in the game? You've got the guy that everybody in the nation who's a baseball fan knows, David Wright, not succeeding, and you've got a guy that people don't know yet in Adrian Chambers. But I'm guessing that before it's over, they'll know his name as well. You just see the joy on his face and his countenance, the way he's moving.
Oh, 2 pitch. Garcia going tomorrow. It's been tremendous at home. Thursday afternoon, Westbrook and Capuano. Against the Cubs over the weekend, it's Carpenter, Loesch, Jackson. One and 2. Garcia trying to soak up some of that knowledge from Adam Wainwright. Those two have been sitting together for about 3 or 4 innings.
What's fun is how the knowledge comes in little bits and pieces. In casual conversation. In maybe a story that seems irrelevant. Hanging around Bruce Sutter for an entire year in a bullpen. It's not like he had class in the bullpen and said, okay, now here's what you need to do here, and here's what he would just be him, tell stories, relate to you, but things would come out over the course of a season that were just nuggets that you'd never forget.
2-2. Zabchinski spins, throws. Bottom of the 8th coming up. Fans having some fun tonight. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Left on base has been a story here tonight. New York 13, Cardinals 5. Redbirds 15 hits, and they lead it 11-6. Thayer is the new pitcher. Baxter is in left field. Dale Thayer is the hitter, or the new pitcher. 8 appearances.
I had a little thought as I looked at the Cardinal bullpen that this might be the kind of game that you'd see Eduardo Sanchez, but Fernando Salas warming up to pitch the 9th inning. I guess if the Cardinals maybe had 6 or 7 or 8 run lead, maybe you'd go to Sanchez. I'd like to see him pitch once.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. 2-1.
Your pass list trying to communicate to us down below. All your good friends.
3-1 on Alan Craig. And that's pulled foul.
Been talking about your golf tournament that's coming up, Dan, and excited that you're in your 10th year, or is it your 9th year?
9th year.
9th year, and I know that's a very meaningful day for you. You help the special needs kids throughout the area, and I know that's tugs on your heart, and you really do a great job with that.
It's been a lot of fun, and you see the parents, kids that you help out, and many of the teachers that come out. It's October 10th out at Norwood Hills. It's done $1.5 million in 8 years.
Awesome.
Of which 100% goes back to the kids that need it the most.
Outstanding.
3-2 to Craig. High fly ball, deep left, and caught on the track. I think they have a little top spin on that, didn't it?
Didn't quite get under it, that where it had that kind of carry to it. It had more of a kind of a line drive that was sinking kind of look to it, and either way you look at it, he crushed it. Centered that ball very well. That's probably out of some big league ballparks.
You got to think that he's given the club options too, depending on what happens with Pujols or Berkman. You know, Craig is a guy that now he's looked upon more so than just one of the young kids coming up and trying to get him at bats or maybe a pinch hitter. I mean,
he's legitimately a guy you want in the lineup every day.
Right. And you'd have to think about, if healthy, 500 plus at bats, what kind of numbers he'd put up.
Now, as much as I like Alan Craig, I'm a big Alan Craig fan, have been. I just think he has great at bats. I'm still not 100% sure where it's best to play him.
Base hit for Pujols.
Another 4-hit night.
Yep.
I think the Cardinals would like to find a place to play this guy too.
We hope it's not his final homestand as a Cardinal. Start thinking about that. Average at 304 now. Here's Berkman. I can't believe that you actually had a conversation with Ron Darling.
I did. You know, he is one of the pond scum guys.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure why we've been able to connect over the years, but always appreciated him. He's a very smart guy, very smart player.
Yale, correct?
Yale guy. Did not throw particularly hard. In fact, I remind him every time I see him that I hit a double over the center fielder's head against him.
When I see all the other see, there's Gary, and hi Gary, how you doing? And then, hey Wayne, then Ron, hey Ron, how you doing?
Well, I got to remind him of that double.
No, they're all very good people, and
Gary does a great job
They
as well.
are tremendous on the air.
And so is Keith. Keith Hernandez does a lot of work with the New York television, and really very kind of blunt guy. And but that's Keith. That's Keith.
Shane Robinson will be the hitter. Cardinals with a right-hander getting loose in the pen. He mentioned how Tony has really ridden those hot hands in the bullpen, and tonight with a 5-run lead, you would hope you wouldn't have to use Mott, give him a little rest, and Salas is getting loose.
With the 4 guys he's used tonight, he's also used a lot.
Yes.
McClellan, Dotel, Zipchinski, and Salas.
Robinson, right field line, foul.
Used Mitchell Boggs and Arthur Rhodes sparingly. Maybe the next tier of relievers. The guy's not quite as hot as the rest of the guys, but have had some good outings, some good innings. And then again, the other 4 guys are just out there answering the phone. Somebody's got to answer the phone.
Jeff Murphy.
Well, if he's busy, somebody else has got to answer.
Somebody else got to get up. Okay.
You answered. You say, yes, may I help you?
Get this guy up and let's go.
I remember getting the evil eye from Dave Ricketts. One time I answered the phone because he did not want anybody but him answering that phone.
Why?
Because he was the man. He was our guy. He was the bullpen coach, and he was in charge, and he did a great job of doing what he did. But he was not near the phone for 1 minute, and I happened to pick it up, and he came and, boy, did he give me the evil eye. It's like, I can't just let it ring, can I? Right. There's no answer. There's no answer.
I've never heard of a bullpen coach that got upset over a guy answering the phone. But it happened, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, but I absolutely loved Dave Ricketts.
Robinson grounds out. We head to the 9th. Salas coming in when we come back.
Cardinals lead it 11-6 as we go to the 9th in St. Louis. Coming up after the game on the post-game edition of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live, Pat Paris and Mike Matheny will do the honors. A 6-run 7 breaks it open for the Cardinals. They'll recap it. Also, we'll continue our countdown of the top 10 moments of the 2011 season. Adrian Chambers with a big 3-run triple. He's having a ball. So are Dan and Rick. We head back to the booth.
All right, Jim, great job as always and all season. Here is Salas to come in. Albert Pujols' 4-hit game, 5th time he's done that since early August. What's amazing, looking at scorecard, Cardinals have walked 9 tonight. 9. And yet they have an 11-6 lead.
They've stranded 13. That's how they've been able to do that.
Ruben Tejada, the hitter, 1 ball and 2 strikes. You mentioned the 4 that have really been used a bunch by Tony La Russa. You have to wonder about the availability maybe of a guy like Kyle McClellan tomorrow. 2nd inning tonight. I'm sure Tony would say I probably pushed him.
I would agree.
And he wound up walking 4, including that bases loaded walk. Fly ball into right.
Well, Kyle's not normally a guy that has control issues, so you figure he's going to have 4 walks in an inning and 2/3. He probably was pushed. Probably had kind of the tired arm. We both noticed, Dan, his curveball wasn't real sharp and it was not biting, and really the Mets were just kind of spitting on that. So then he was missing with his fastball and really just didn't have his good stuff.
Mike Baxter.
And no off days from here on out, so the bullpen will have to be managed well.
Popped up into shallow center. Let's turn to our player of the game. Chambers, 3-run triple in the 7th. Our Budweiser player of the game.
I like the choice. Key moment. Broke the game open. A lot of flair, a lot of drama. Cardinal fans have certainly enjoyed this one. I think the bandwagon's getting a little more full.
Count me in.
And I don't fault anybody for not being on it for a while. There wasn't much signs of life on this team 2 weeks ago. And now there is.
So it'll be 8 to play, 2.5 games back. If the Cardinals hold on. 2-1. And I think you'd have to like the schedule and how it shapes up for St. Louis.
And a win here, and the Cardinals would go to +16 for the first time all year. With that better schedule, Atlanta Braves are reeling despite a victory today.
Cubs over the weekend, then at Houston. Mentioned Atlanta will face Strasburg, Chin-Ming Wong, and they'll also get the Phillies. Here's a 3-2. A 3-2 pitch. Ground ball right side. This should do it. Hard-fought win for the Cardinals. 11-6. They hold on.
Plenty of good moments here at the ballpark. Ryan Theriot, a big hit. Adrian Chambers comes through. The Cardinal pitching settles down. 13 runners stranded for the Mets. And the Cardinals pounding out 11 runs on 16 hits.
11-6, the final here tonight. We're off to the postgame show. Lots to talk about. What a win. 11-6. Win number 85.
Game is over. It's a Cardinal victory here at Busch Stadium. Mike Matheny and I ready to break it down on Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. Maybe a little bit of doubt tonight, but the offense really comes through.
And this team just does not give up. They keep coming. Had a little bit of a trouble there in the first with Jackson again. A big third with 3 runs against. The guys answer right back. Keep fighting, and a couple of huge heroes at the end of the game.
Especially in that 7th inning. More from Mike coming up on Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. Plus the red-hot Redbirds return to Busch Stadium for the final homestand of the season. And they continue that hot play to keep pace with Atlanta for the wild card. Edwin Jackson, maybe not his best stuff, but he certainly gave the Cardinals a chance to win. We'll take you inside the Cardinal Clubhouse player reaction. Tony TV as well. Plus we continue our countdown to the top 10 moments of 2011. It's National Farm Safety Day, so that's where Cal Eldred is. Cal, hop off the tractor, get in front of a TV. Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live, next.
Welcome to Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live.
Theriot, fly ball, left center. This ball will get down all the way to the wall, over the wall. Ronald double. Ryan Theriot comes through.
Ryan Theriot certainly with the biggest hit of the night. A bases loaded double that scores 2, and the Cardinals are on their way to a victory tonight, 11-6 over the Mets. Meantime, the wild card leading Braves in Florida this evening. Alex Gonzalez up in the second. He leads off with the solo shot to left. That's gone, a solo blast, and that's all the offense the Braves would need. They win it by the final of 4-0, number 15 on the season for Gonzalez. And that means that because the Cardinals were able to win this evening, they stay exactly 2.5 back of the Atlanta Braves in that wild card. Cardinals have 8 left, Braves have 7 games left. Hello everybody and welcome back inside Busch Stadium. It's the post-game edition of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live with former Cardinal backstop Mike Matheny. I'm Pat Paris. It is a 2.5 game deficit now for the Cardinals. It stays that way. We're going to bring you plenty of Cardinal player reaction. Also go inside the clubhouse, get you Tony La Russa's Tony TV. We'll break down Edwin Jackson's start. And we're still counting down those top 10 moments of 2011. We may have seen one here tonight. Again, Mike, this is a Cardinal bunch that, well, hopefully it's not too late, but they certainly are playing their best baseball at the right time, and that's now in a playoff run.
And you're seeing different guys come through. You're seeing Jackson have probably one of the worst starts he's had here in a while and still kept the team in the game. You see guys coming through in the bullpen, a little bit of a hiccup with McClellan, but the guys are there to shut the door like Dotel. The big hit when they had to have it comes twice. You're seeing some of these young guys get the opportunities, and they're maximizing their opportunities to show that, hey, I'm for real, and I'm here, and I'd like to stay here, and I'd like to really showcase what I can do. It's nice to see that with Ryan Theriot after a tough season for him, especially the ending, and then Adron Chambers just stepping up as the hero.
Cardinals have won 11 of their last 13. If you want to get involved in the program, the tweet is on. Send us your questions or comments via Twitter. At FS Midwest is where you need to send them. Some of the best and most interesting will be shown later on tonight on Cardinals Live. Tony La Russa stepping to the podium right now. Let's take you down there live. It is brought to you by the Sheet Metal Workers Local 36. Here's Tony TV.
Two-out rally in the 7th inning.
It was a beautiful sight to behold. It certainly didn't look like it was going in that direction. That young man just worked right through our first 2 hitters. But I don't know, once things starts rolling, sometimes it's tough to pull the cork on it. And there's some huge at-bats from Ryan and from Adrian. I mean, huge. And then, of course, they got another one, but that's very rare. You can go 2 outs against a good major league bullpen and get runs. Just weird baseball.
Both guys were pinch hitters for pinch hitters. It's kind of a rarity too.
Yeah, it's September. Stuff you do in September that you can't do during the year.
Theriot had decent numbers against that guy in the past, but was there anything else that maybe feeling or something?
No, the guy, I mean, he's done a great job for them, especially against left-hand hitters, so you got to turn him around if you can. And, Ryan has done a very good job coming off our bench. So we had a shot. But it's actually one of the things I'm not crazy about. We have 10 extra players doing that in September, but it's the rules, so you play the rules.
So you're obviously thinking ahead. So both scenarios, you knew right away when the first guy goes up, they're going to do this, and you're going to have Theriot and Chambers ready to go.
Well, no, you never know. You should see guys getting loose. So, the manager on the other side, he's watching, and if he doesn't like what he sees, he's going to go to somebody else. So you just get guys ready, but don't know for sure.
What made Chambers the choice? Was it over Patterson? Was Patterson available?
He's just sometimes. I mean, at bat that he had the other day in Philadelphia was classic. He got behind early, and that guy had about 3 ways to strike him out, and he went to all 3 of them, and he fouled the pitches off, which is a great at bat. Then he missed one over the plate and he hit it. So, just give him another shot, and he'll get another one now too. Even start.
What do you know about? I mean, you talk a lot about how much faith you have in Maloney and what he says about Hammer and AAA. How much faith you have, but a guy like that, I mean, how do you know he'll react in a pinch hit spot? I mean, you can't. Maybe do.
Mississippi State, football guys aren't afraid of anything.
I mean, is that? That's
No.
It's as simple as that. SEC
No,
football.
We saw him in spring training. He applies himself. I mean, I was trying to be cute, but then it didn't work. Nobody laughed till right now. I pleaded for the laugh, but
Yeah, it's
like, oh,
10
man,
minutes to
relax.
deadline, you know.
No, we watched him in spring training, and, you know, this isn't a gift promotion. I mean, Mo and the guys in the organization thought long and hard about it. And they just figured that he earned it, and he gave us a lot of pluses, speed, 3 positions, and, you know, he's a very confident guy, and when he gets experience, he's got a chance to be an impactful major league player.
Back each time your team had an answer tonight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did too. I mean, I thought the Mets did exactly what we knew they were going to do, which is compete. I mean, we talk about our issues. They've had about 4 times our issues, and they're just a few games under 500. It's been a remarkable season. They've had guys traded that made sense to trade, but so we knew how they were going to play us, just like they played Atlanta. But yeah, with the guys are excited, so they're going to play 9 innings. And if at the end of the 9. Mets beat us, you make nice scoring, but yeah, you have a shot. Just play it out, and sometimes it works.
Does the mood change at all when you see that Atlanta wins and then you guys fall behind there late in the 7th?
Think about that question for a minute. So that's, you know, and I'm not being sarcastic. It's really kind of insulting if you think about it. It means you had another gear to go to, and all of a sudden because they lost, you went to that gear. Absolutely not. We're going as hard as we can. There's nothing else that we can go to because we fall behind or they win. It makes nothing. You just go, and see how it turns out. And the other point is, if there is somebody doing that and I haven't noticed it, then they shouldn't be playing. But I don't believe that.
The 4 walks from McClellan, was he just missing a little, or?
Well, it was the 2nd inning. You know, it's a close game. He's trying not to throw the ball down the middle. I mean, I definitely believe it's part of wear and tear. And yeah, we saw him after the game. I said, I'll see you Friday. And he'll get his 2 days. So, hesitated to do that 2nd inning with him a lot. You know, it hadn't been good, but I think it's that more than anything else.
Would you have preferred to not see him die for that bunted ball there, and maybe Molina can make a play on it, or maybe he fields on the hop and gets the guy at first?
I mean, how are you going to stop a guy from trying as hard as he can? You know, I just would have preferred we got an out. But, you know, the ball was up there for a while, and, yeah. If you wait till it bounces, the guy gets a second. If you catch that ball or you can trap it, Freeze has a lot of good. No, you know, it's instinctive. I don't know if you can stop it. We don't practice a diving play in spring training. But maybe in the pool. Anything else? That deadline's approaching, so you guys better hurry.
Tony's got to work on his delivery of the punchline. Clearly went over the heads of all the media downstairs. Tony, though, well, you can tell. We saw it last night, and I think it got national play, how he and the team reacted to the walk-off win by the Marlins. Well, tonight he was reacting to, obviously, what turned out to be a terrific ball game for the Cardinals. And it began, Mike, in that 7th inning with 2 outs. And who else began the rally? Well, the hottest hitter on the team right now, Albert Pujols.
The hottest hitter in baseball, probably, but he does what he does, and he's just been so impressive. And once again, it's not a surprise, but amazing to see where he has come and just how disciplined he's been to stay with his approach to get this thing going. And then Lance is just, whenever a big hit needs to happen, he's there. And it may not be the one that's scoring the 3 runs, but he's that guy that just seems to keep things going like he did in this inning with 2 outs. These guys just aren't giving up, and that's really kind of that mantra they have in their mind right now.
And even Lance thinking about, okay, if I can deke a throw and maybe get caught in a rundown, at least I can get Albert home with the tying run. Mets didn't fall for it, and then David Freese walks. So now you've got an interesting situation with the bases loaded. Stinson comes out. They go to Tim Burdack, so Daniel Descalzo, who was going to be the pinch hitter, sits down. And you mentioned when Ryan Terry, there was a chance, you said, this is the guy I want because he'll hit it somewhere and put it in play.
And you saw Baxter and you saw Pagan both come in really shallow in that situation, which I didn't really understand, but this is a guy who puts together tough at-bats.
And then an intentional walk as well. Yadier Molina, who's also hitting the heck out of the ball right now. And then it's a punch played by Tony again in Adrian Chambers, who delivered on Friday night in Philadelphia, and he delivers tonight as well. How about a bases loaded triple?
And just the energy that a young guy like this makes when you bring in a guy for September who didn't even expect to be in there. And then Nick Punto coming in and doing what he is kind of fallen into that habit of doing. Well, you've got these role play guys coming off the bench right now. Perfect timing that they're making these big at-bats and making something happen.
So a 6-run 7th inning really sparked by Ryan Terrio's bases loaded ground rule double that bounced into the stands. And you look what he's done since July 29th. So since Rafael Furcal has taken over as the starting shortstop, and Terrio's been relegated to a bench player at times, sometimes a starter at second base, and you see what he's been able to do. 24 for 74, 324 average. We saw glimpses of this production early in the season, but then his offense started to go down, and now it's really come back thanks to maybe a little less usage.
And I think that really says volumes about his character and what he could have done, being the guy that they go get this past winter, and he's going to be the shortstop, and then all of a sudden this is taken away from him. He could be a guy who is bringing everybody in that clubhouse down, but he doesn't. He stays true to his game, his task. He knows that he's a part of something very, very, very special right now.
True professional as well. Look at that 368 with runners in scoring position for the Cardinals during that time after July 29th. Jim Hayes moments ago did catch up with Ryan Terrio, who's our Mid-America Chevrolet Dealers player of the game. Cat?
A 2-run pinch hit double by Ryan Terrio in the 7th. Put the Cardinals up for good, kind of opened the floodgates. First for you guys to win this game. You knew Atlanta had already won, so the pressure was on you and you had to win.
Yeah, you got to win. You know, I think we're at a point now in the season that you got to win every game, no matter what, what the Braves do. So yeah, we go out there, play hard, and just try to win each game.
Situation you were in, you come up bases loaded as the pinch hitter facing Burdack. What are you trying to do?
Just hit the ball hard. You know, just put the barrel on the ball, and good things happen. So.
You guys have been waiting for the kind of run you're on right now, and you're getting a little bit of everything going right, but tonight it was a battle back and forth, and you guys kept fighting.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was a fun game. We were able to come out on top, and we'll give them more.
One of the things about this team that I noticed, never too high, never too low, even when things weren't going your way. It seemed there's an even keel kind of approach to this ball club.
You got a lot of professionals, a lot of guys that have been here before, veteran players, and that tends to happen when you have that kind of mix.
Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Ryan Terrio, we send it back to you.
Jim, thank you very much. Just getting started here on Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. More on Adrian Chambers and his big plate appearance. Yo, Adrian, next.